Chapter 355. Men. Tang Lan's gaze was cold as he said indifferently, Lin Muyu assaulted and killed an important official in front of the palace. He deserves the death penalty. Remove his chief deacon badge and throw him into the death cell. He will be executed tomorrow at noon. Qin Yin hurriedly said, Duke Lan, I am the emperor. I have to make the decision on this matter. Tang Lan cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, no matter how close Lin Muyu is to you, and no matter what kind of person Lin Muyu is, he publicly killed someone in Zai Tian Palace. This is enough to prove his disloyalty. I hope your Highness can handle this matter impartially. Don't let the officials here be bitterly disappointed. Although the empire belongs to the Qin family, it was exchanged with your lives. In an instant, Tang Lu, Tang Tian, and the other important officials all knelt down. Your Highness, please execute Lin Muyu. You guys. Qin Yin bit her red lips and looked helplessly at Su Muyun. However, Su Muyun only nodded and stood in place without saying a word. At this moment, Feng Jixing and Wei Chou knelt down together. Feng Jixing said, Your Highness, although Lin Muyu killed Shihua, in my opinion, Shihua is indeed a very evil person. He dared to open the gate of Winter Frost City without permission and defected to the enemy. It is not wrong for you to kill him. Please, Your Highness, pardon Yu's crime. Qin Yen knelt down and said, Cousin, Big Brother made great contributions in the Battle of Winter Frost City. He killed hundreds of armor demons alone. No one can compare to this kind of contribution. We can't kill a meritorious official. Oh right, the Marquis gave Big Brother a token before the final battle and asked him to bring it to your Highness. Qin Yin was delighted. Big Brother Yu, what is it? Lin Muyu took out Min Yulin's cloth from her Qianquan bag and handed it to Qin Yin. Qin Yin unfolded it and saw the words, I will not let you down, written in blood. Tears welled up in Qin Yin's eyes as she said, Marquis Wei, dying in Winter Frost City is such a pity. Tang Lan knelt on the ground and cupped his fists. Your Highness, please punish Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu also knelt on one knee and said in a low voice, I beseech Xiao Yin to immediately send reinforcements to the Daojiang branch to resist the demon army. Suddenly, someone in the crowd burst into laughter. His laughter was incomparably arrogant. Everyone looked over and saw that it was a man wearing a general's robe with 3 golden hexagrams on his shoulders. He had the rank of general, and his eyes were extremely cold. Marquis of the Tranquil Sea, Yao Yuan, what are you laughing at? Su Muyun asked calmly. Yao Yuan was still laughing heartily, and tears were about to fall from his eyes. Duke Yun, oh Duke Yun, don't you see? In the main hall, one of them requested to be killed, while the other requested your Highness to send reinforcements to the border. Isn't it obvious who is a sycophant and who is a loyal subject? Yao Yuan. Tang Lan looked back with a cold gaze. Are you saying I'm a sycophant? I wouldn't dare. Yao Yuan cupped his fists and said with a smile, Duke Lan has saved the nation, so how could this general dare to call you a sycophant? However, does Lin Muyu have a reason to defect to the enemy? I really can't think of one. Tang Lan snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Qin Yin said gently, Duke Lan, you see, there is no absolute evidence to prove that Brother Yu colluded with the enemy. Moreover, Shihua has already been killed, and Brother Yu is Imperial Father's adopted son. Is his life not worth a captaincy? Your Highness's words are not reasonable. Tang Lan said, not to mention the fact that Shihua is a captaincy, even if he is just an ordinary soldier, no one can easily take his life as long as he has shed blood and sweat for the empire. Although Lin Muyu is the former emperor's adopted son, he is still only an adopted son. He is not a member of the Qin family. What did you say? Qin Yen said angrily, Big Brother has risked his life for the empire and is also the former emperor's adopted son. What right do you have to say that he is not a member of the Qin family? Tang Lan looked on coldly and didn't say anything. Behind her, Tang Lu laughed coldly and said, "So what if he is an adopted son? Lin Muyu has no blood connection with His Majesty, nor does he have any blood connection with Her Highness the Empress. What right do you have to say that he is a member of the Qin family? Since he is not a member of the Qin family, there is no reason to pardon any of his crimes." Qin Yin bit her red lips. You are disobeying my edict like this. Does this count as rebellion? As long as I still stand on this throne, I am the ruler of Great Qin. Tang Lan, you are one of the two dukes. Why do you keep bumping into the emperor without knowing it? Tang Lan was startled. He had never thought that Qin Yin would speak like this. He hurriedly knelt down, and all the officials in the hall knelt down as well. At this time, Lin Muyu looked coldly at Tang Lan, Tang Lu, and the others, saying, "What are you trying to do? Do you just want to kill me? Or, after I prove my bloodline, will you stop bothering me? Do you know that the citizens of the empire in Lingdong province are being slaughtered by the demon race? What are you trying to do?" Anger rose continuously from the bottom of his heart. The battle chi around him revolved rapidly, forcing the people around him to retreat. A golden light broke out from the ground. It wasn't a golden gourd, but a resplendent golden god-binding chain. It floated in the air, and a second god-binding chain appeared around Lin Muyu. Soon, 8 shimmering golden god-binding chains surrounded Lin Muyu, full of dignity. Battle chi surged out in all directions, making it almost impossible to open one's eyes. God-binding chain. Tang Lan's heart instantly went cold. Feng Jixing's eyes also widened. God-binding chain. How can you have God-binding chain? Su Muyun's brows furrowed. God-binding chain. That is the exclusive martial spirit of the Qin bloodline. Lin Muyu looked at everyone with a burning gaze. After a low shout, the God-binding chain martial spirit completely dissipated into his body. He said indifferently, "Do you see? Do I count as a member of the Qin clan?" He raised his hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. His eyes were filled with disappointment as he looked at everyone and said, "If you want to kill me, if you want to seize power, go ahead. But don't bully me too much. Otherwise, don't blame me for doing something crazy. Tang Lan, Su Muyun, don't think that I don't dare to kill you. Let me tell you, don't force me anymore. Otherwise, even if you have thousands of soldiers protecting you, I will still chop off your heads as a sacrifice to those who died in vain." As he spoke, he walked out of the Zhe Tian Palace. Outside, the sky had turned dark. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. A storm was about to descend. Tang Lan and Su Muyun stood there dumbstruck. No one would have thought that Lin Muyu would say so many treasonous words. Large raindrops fell on his body like pearls. Lin Muyu walked quickly on the main road of the Zhe Tian Palace. He felt as if his heart was being torn apart by thousands of swords. He didn't understand what was wrong with the people of the world. What were they pursuing? In front of him, a short tree was swaying crazily in the wind and rain under the walls of the Zhe Tian Palace. It seemed as if it would be uprooted at any time. Lin Muyu slowly sat down under the wall and let the rain fall on his body. He hugged his legs as he sat there. Suddenly, he started sobbing. He didn't know how much time had passed. The sound of the rain didn't stop, but it didn't fall on his body. "Big brother you," Qin Yin held up the small green umbrella to shield him from the wind and rain. She slowly lowered her body and stretched out her arms to hug him. Lin Muyu raised his head as if he was startled. "Xiao Yin, it's okay, it's okay." Qin Yin hugged him tightly. Tears flowed from her eyes as she said, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault that I'm so useless. It's all my fault that Xiao Yin can't control government affairs. It's all my fault that you've tasted all the injustice. Xiao Yin, it's okay." Lin Muyu knelt down and held Qin Yin in his arms. He took the umbrella from her hands and saw that Qin Yin's elegant dark blue dress was dragged in the mud. The rain was too heavy. Even with an umbrella, she was drenched. In the distance, palace maids and guards were standing guard. Qin Yin probably didn't allow them to get close. They couldn't see what was happening in the rain. Qin Yin nestled in his arms and spoke intermittently. After you went to Lingdong, I missed you every day. I was worried that you would be in danger. I was worried that you wouldn't be able to eat well and wear warm clothes. Grandfather and Duke Lan pressured me step by step. They took away all government and military power, making me a puppet. I missed you. Ever since you left, I've been flustered. You know that Xiao Yin loves you so much. Qin Yin's soft arms wrapped around Lin Muyu's neck. Her beautiful face moved closer to him, and her red lips gently pressed against Lin Muyu's. This kiss was like a dream, at least for Lin Muyu. When Qin Yin's lips left his, a sense of loss filled his heart. Qin Yin looked at his expression and suddenly smiled. She moved closer again and kissed his lips for the second time. This time, even Qin Yin blushed and felt her body heat up. It was as if she wanted to melt into Lin Muyu's body. Hearing her rapid breathing, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. When did Xiao Yin become so proactive? Qin Yin's face turned even redder. She lightly punched his chest and said, "It's all to comfort you." Sitting in the rain with Qin Yin in his arms, Lin Muyu felt that this rain was far more wonderful than the one in Winterfrost City. There was only happiness and nostalgia in this rain, while there was only death and fear in that rain. Perhaps this was a kind of praise for his escape. Xiao Yin. The demons are really strong. Their 100,000 soldiers are enough to defeat all the armies of the empire. We must be prepared in advance. Otherwise, the other 6 provinces in North Ridge will be wiped out in a moment. I know. Qin Yin was still hugging him and smiled sweetly at him. General Feng told me to build 7 forts on the west bank of the Daojiang River, one every 50 kilometers. We'll amass a large number of soldiers to defend against the demons' invasion while also protecting each other. This way, it won't be so easy for the demons to encroach on the Empire's territory. Yes. Big Brother Yu understands the demons better than any of us, so I've decided to go against the majority's opinion and make Big Brother Yu a high-ranking general in the Empire's military system. What does Big Brother Yu think? Lin Muyu's gaze was firm. I won't retreat when Xiao Yin needs me. How about this? You only need to give me a military rank. As for the troops, I'll build them myself. I believe that Duke Lan and Duke Yun won't be willing to let me command their troops. Qin Yin was overjoyed. Big Brother Yu is the best. Right at this moment, a man slowly walked over with an umbrella in his hand. His battle robe fluttered along with the strong wind. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said with a smile, I say, the two of you, everyone is watching. Your Highness, bring Yu back to the side hall of Zhe Heavenly Palace. Duke Yun has agreed to dispatch troops from Yunzhong province to resist the devil race. Yes, that's great. Chapter 356. Zhe Tian Hall, Side Hall. A hand-drawn map was spread out on the table and there were a few people standing around the table, Qin Yin, Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, Su Muyun, Tang Lan, and Tang Xiaoxi. Tang Xiaoxi had just rushed over from the Duke's mansion and after knowing what happened, she felt extremely distressed. Feng Jixing placed his hand on the map and said, from the northern border of Yunzhong province to the Qinling Mountains, there is a total of 1400 li 700 li of which are insurmountable cliffs and the other 700 li are the tributaries of the Daojiang River. This river runs through the central part of the empire and is enough to stop the demon race's advance. Fortunately, you ordered the destruction of all the bridges, otherwise, the consequences would be hard to imagine. Qin Yin said, General Feng, please continue. Feng Jixing nodded and continued, even though according to you, the demon race is not good at swimming, but it is hard to be sure that they will not use the fishing boats on the east bank to cross the Daojiang River. So I suggest building a city on the west bank of the Daojiang River and building 7 forts. 1 fort for every 100 li and a camp for every 10 li. There must be cavalry patrolling every li to monitor the demon race's every move. Su Muyun frowned. Are there any letters from Lingdong Province and Tong Tian Province? No. Feng Jixing shook his head. The 2 eastern provinces have completely fallen into the hands of the demon race. The imperial army there should have been completely annihilated, so there is no need to hope for any news from there. Su Muyun took a deep breath and said, you has been recruiting soldiers in Muyu City for the past 6 months. We can mobilize about 150,000 soldiers to guard the forts. Are we still lacking? Feng Jixing replied, yes, each fortress has at least 30,000 to 50,000 soldiers. That's close to 300,000 soldiers. The main force of the Imperial Guards has to stay in the Imperial capital. So, Duke Lan, how many soldiers can you send? Tang Lan was startled and said, Xiangyu has 100,000 soldiers in Sangnan province. They can go and guard the Daojiang River. That's good. We're still missing 1. Yu's Temple Camp and Longdan Army Camp can be filled. At the side, Qin Yin said, Grandfather, Duke Lan, I plan to use Big Brother Yu again. I hope that you won't object. I believe that all of you have seen Big Brother Yu's ability to lead troops. I will promote Big Brother Yu to rank 3 Country Protector General and appoint him as the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Wei Chou and Qin Yen will be the deputy commanders. Furthermore, in order to resist the invasion of the demon race, the Longdan Army Camp can expand its army without an upper limit. Su Muyun took a deep look at Qin Yin and said, if Xiao Yin feels that she has the ability to mobilize the Longdan Army Camp, then expand the army. Grandfather will not oppose it anymore. Tang Lan bowed her head and said, Your Highness, no army in the empire can expand without an upper limit. Otherwise, the world will be in chaos. I suggest that the Longdan Army Camp and the Temple Camp should have a maximum of 50,000 soldiers. Alright, we will listen to Duke Lan's suggestion. Qin Yin nodded her head, turned around, and said, Come, announce that Lin Muyu will be promoted to Country Protector General and reappointed as the commander of the Longdan Army Camp. Longdan Army Camp will be included in the 3rd Army of the Empire and will be allowed to expand by 50,000 soldiers. In addition, summon the Navy Commander, Beili Tsang. Yes. A few minutes later, a general walked into the side hall. He was about 40 years old and had a weather-beaten face. He cupped his fists respectfully and said, The Navy Commander, Beili Tsang, pays his respects to the Empress. Qin Yin nodded and said, Okay, listen to the orders from the side. Yes. Tang Lan raised his head and glanced at Su Muyun, then at Qin Yin and Lin Muyu. Your Highness, the demon race is invading on a large scale. Who does Your Highness intend to give the important task of defending against the demon race to? Qin Yin smiled and said, Who is Duke Lan going to appoint? Xiangyu is skilled in both the pen and the sword. He is loyal and decisive. I suggest Xiangyu to be the commander of the Daojiang River coast. Xiangyu? The corner of Qin Yin's mouth curled up as she said, Great General Xiangyu is certainly brave, but the opponent this time is the demon race, not the Iha kingdom. Although Xiangyu is fierce, he lacks flexibility. In my opinion, Commander Feng Jixing should take on the heavy responsibility of defending against the demon race. Tang Lan said, Feng Jixing is still young and I'm afraid he can't be the commander of the 3 armies. I hope Your Highness can be prudent. Qin Yin pursed her red lips and said, Then don't make him a commander. I will only appoint Feng Jixing as the highest commander of the Daojiang River coast. What does Duke Lan think? I will solemnly obey Your Highness' order. Tang Lan's demeanor was very respectful, but it was this respectful sentence that dissolved the next step in Qin Yin's plan, to be made a commander. There was only one marshal in the empire. Once Feng Jixing was conferred the title of marshal by the empress, he would have a supreme position in the empire. As long as he wanted to, the military power of the empire would slowly shift from the hands of Tang Lan and Su Muyun. However, Qin Yin was not disappointed. At the very least, she had managed to obtain the position of commander-in-chief of the frontline army. Feng Jiren was a cautious and resourceful person. He would definitely be more appropriate than Xiang Yu when facing the devil race. That's good. Qin Yin's pair of bright eyes looked at everyone and said, "This time, no one is to be negligent in resisting the demons. Those who disobey will be executed. Feng Jixing will be the frontline commander and will command the entire army. General Beili Tsang, you are the commander of the navy. This time, you must listen to General Feng's orders." "Yes." Beili Tsang cupped his fists and said, "The Navy's 150 warships and 30,000 soldiers will listen to General Feng's orders." "Good." Qin Yin nodded and said, "Appoint a commander for each of the 7 strongholds of the Daojiang River tributary. Immediately draft a list and pass it to me. Among them, Lin Muyu will lead the Longdan army camp to guard one of the strongholds. Is there any problem?" Tang Lan and Su Muyun cupped their fists together and said, "Yes." Lin Muyu also nodded respectfully and said, "Yes." "Then make the preparations. Immediately transport the craftsmen and materials to Cangnan province. 3 days later, the army will set out. Whether we can defeat the demons on the Daojiang River depends on everyone." "Yes, Your Highness, please rest assured." As for Feng Jixing, Qin Yin, and the others who asked about the god-binding shackles, Lin Muyu could only vaguely answer. He said that the god-binding shackles had inadvertently comprehended the god-binding shackles. Perhaps it was an accident of fate. As for the bloodline, he did not know. Not long after, the Minister of War handed the seal of the Protector of the State back to Lin Muyu. At the same time, he also put on the commander's insignia. The 3 golden stars were particularly dazzling. Qin Yin asked Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to have dinner together in the evening. The imperial family's meals were simple, so they only had a pot of stewed meat and a few side dishes for dinner. Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with watery eyes and said, "Mu went to Lingdong for 2 months. This time, I don't know how long it will take to go to Cangnan province to guard the border." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "Xiaoxi, don't worry. Perhaps it will be very soon." Qin Yin's beautiful eyes were full of nostalgia as she looked at Lin Muyu. She asked softly, Do you think we will win?" "Yes." Lin Muyu said with a resolute gaze, "Although the demon race is very strong, as long as we avoid fighting on the plains and fight them in water or city defense, which the demon race is not good at, we can win." "Why is Brother Yu so sure?" Qin Yin asked again. Lin Muyu smiled, "Because the demon race's weapons are very clumsy. Some are even bronze weapons. Compared to the Empire's blacksmithing skills, they are like 3-year-old children. This means that although the demon race is strong, they do not have advanced craftsmanship, nor do they have skilled craftsmen. From this, we can infer that the demon race does not know how to build ships or siege weapons. This is our greatest advantage, but," he revealed a worried expression. "But what?" Qin Yin looked at him with a gloomy expression. Lin Muyu's heart sank as she said, "But not all of the demon race are as stupid as the armor demons. There are also smart ones. Otherwise, Winter Frost City would not have been broken through so easily. What I'm most worried about is that the demon race will come all the way from Winter Ridge Province and Sky-Reaching Province. They may enslave human craftsmen to build things for them. Therefore, it's better to set up the defense on the tributary of Rice River as soon as possible. We don't have much time, and our advantage is not permanent." "So that's it," Qin Yin pursed her red lips and suddenly smiled. She picked up a piece of meat for Lin Muyu and said, "Brother Yu, eat more." "Yes." At this time, Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with a gloomy expression. "Mu, I heard that after Winter Frost City ran out of food for more than 10 days, you have eaten all the edible things in the city, yes?" Lin Muyu nodded. "Tree bark, grass roots, rats, snakes. I've tasted almost all of these wild things in Winter Frost City, woo-woo." The two beauties frowned at the same time. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She thought that they should stay away from the war, but the most ruthless thing about war was that it didn't discriminate. When the war came, no one could avoid it. After dinner, Tang Xiaoxi promised to transfer 20,000 soldiers from the demon-suppressing pass to Lin Muyu. She also gave the Longdan army camp 5,000 high-quality warhorses. In this way, the Holy Temple camp would have 15,000 soldiers. With the addition of the 1,000 from the Longdan army camp and the people Tang Xiaoxi gave, they would have 36,000 soldiers. Guarding a fortress should not be a problem. When night fell, Tang Xiaoxi came to the Holy Temple with a white warhorse. "Princess Shi is here." Guiyang greeted with a smile. "Needless to say, you must be here to see the Grand Deacon, right?" "Yes, Brother Guiyang, where is Mu?" "In the inner hall, I'll bring you there." "All right." Under the flickering candlelight, Lin Muyu was discussing with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others about the details of the deployment. When she raised her head, she saw Tang Xiaoxi coming in with a warhorse. She couldn't help but smile. "Xiaoxi, why are you here so late at night? Are you here to have supper with me?" "Girls shouldn't eat too much supper, it will make them fat." Tang Xiaoxi pouted and smiled, "But I'm here to give you a precious horse. Look, what do you think of this horse?" Lin Muyu looked over. This horse seemed to be in the form of a small horse. It was slightly immature, but it was very strong. Its entire body was covered with pure white fur, but there was a circle of black fur above its 4 hooves. It looked very beautiful. "This horse is called Treading Snow." Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "Guess, who is her father?" "It can't be Brother Feng, right?" Lin Muyu said with a smile. Tang Xiaoxi also sniggered. "General Feng can't give birth to such a good breed. Her father is Jedi, the fast horse that died in battle. Actually, before Jedi died in battle, my Shueli was already pregnant and gave birth to this Treading Snow. Its name was named by Xiao Yin, so this Treading Snow is equivalent to a gift from me and Xiao Yin to you. Do you like it?" "I like it." Lin Muyu stretched out her hand and caressed the warhorse's head. Suddenly, there was a connection. Everything in the world was so magical, but this Treading Snow seemed to be able to sense that Lin Muyu was once her father's master and immediately became happy. Chapter 357. Amidst a forest in the south of the Qinling Mountains, there were mountain ranges that were enshrouded in mist, and it was like a fairyland. Between the lofty mountains, there were numerous roads that crossed from the north to the south, and between the perilous peaks was a fertile plain where numerous cities were situated. Among them, the most magnificent and prosperous one was extremely prosperous, and it formed a fairyland scene. It was the capital of the Iha country, 100 Ridge City. In the main hall, there was a long table covered with calligraphy and paintings. Qin Yi was waving his brush. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. When a maid was about to wipe the sweat off with a handkerchief, Qin Yi suddenly said coldly, "Don't touch me when I'm writing." "Spare me, Commander. I know I'm wrong. I won't do it again. You can leave." "Yes." The maid was so scared that her face turned pale. She retreated out of the main hall. A few minutes later, a general came in. After stepping into the hall, he cupped his hands and said respectfully, "Commander, Long Qianlin is here." "It's General Long." "Come here." "Yes." Long Qianlin came to Qin Yi's side with his hand on the hilt of his sword. He said with a smile, Commander, your writing is getting stronger and stronger. Good writing, good writing. Qin Yi looked up at him and said with a smile, what's the use of good writing? Can you control the country? Qin Jin's writing is the best in the world. But he still lost half of the country easily. Commander, you're right. How's the situation in Qinling Mountains? Qin Yi asked. Long Qianlin said, several camps we set up in the north of Qinling Mountains have been conquered by the demon tribe. We've lost about 30,000 people. Therefore, I've retreated most of the troops to Qinling Mountains to resist the demon tribe. I believe the demon tribe won't be able to cross Qinling Mountains in a short time. Don't underestimate the demon tribe. Qin Yi put the used brush into the pool and washed it gently. He said thoughtfully, Marquis Min Yulin, a famous general of this generation, used to dominate the northern desert. Today, he and his 100,000 troops were annihilated in Winter Frost City. It's said that the armored demon corps of the demon tribe can fight against 10 demons. Is that true? Qianlin, you should have seen the demon tribe, right? I only saw it from afar. Long Qianlin frowned and said, but, it's true that human soldiers can't fight against the demons head-on. I saw with my own eyes that the armor demons split our volunteer soldiers into two halves together with their shields. Moreover, the armor demons are covered in hard armor that can't be penetrated by swords and sabers. It's hard to kill them unless a sharp blade pierces their eyes and mouths. Any news from Heavenspan province? Is there any news from Count Changming? No. Long Qianlin said apologetically, it said that the demons came from the depths of the mountain range in Sky-Piercing province. They killed anyone they met along the way. Count Changming, who was stationed in Sky-Piercing City, is most likely dead. Sigh, Qin Yi sighed with a pale face and said, I originally thought that I could unify the world by relying on the power of an immortal venerable, but I didn't expect that Tang Lan and Su Muyun, these two old fellows, would hide their strength and bide their time. They used Lanyan City to exhaust our morale before dealing us a heavy blow. I didn't expect that the two provinces that we painstakingly seized from the empire would fall into the hands of the demon race that came from nowhere. Long Qianlin said calmly, Chief, the demon tribe is coming with great momentum. They seem to want to exterminate the human race. I think our biggest enemy is not the empire, but the demon tribe. Do you also think we should ally with the empire? Qin Yi looked at Long Qianlin with pride. Long Qianlin hurriedly bowed his head and cupped his hands, saying, I dare not. How's the progress of the steel wall? It's 40% completed. It's not enough to resist the demon tribe for now. But in 3 months, I believe the steel wall will be enough to make us invincible. But what? However, Commander, there are 97 cities of different sizes in Iha country to the north of the steel protective wall. If we really withdraw our troops to the south of the steel protective wall, I'm afraid that these cities will be handed over to demons. Commander, they are all the people of Iha country. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. Qin Yi looked deeply at Long Qianlin and said, General Long, don't forget that you're one of the Empire's commanders. You're the only one I can rely on now. You'll be fully responsible for the defense of Iha country against the demon tribe. Don't let me down. We can still take back the cities we lost in the Qinling Mountains. But once the steel wall is broken, I'm afraid Lingnan will soon become the demon tribe's territory. Yes, I will do my best. Good, go. Yes. Long Qianlin turned and left. As for Qin Yi, he looked at his back with a strange look in his eyes. Suddenly, he sighed with emotion and said, Imperial brother, I really regret it. If you were alive, I wouldn't have to resist the devil race alone. Qin Yi, that little girl, is probably panicking and doesn't know how to deal with the invasion of the demon tribe, Lanyan City, Zetian Palace. Officials stood in great numbers. Qin Yi, dressed in a princess robe, stood in front of the throne. Her beautiful eyes looked at everyone with dignity. She handed over the golden edict in her hand and said, "Come, read the edict." "Yes." Su Muyun walked forward, trembling, and took the edict from his granddaughter. After unfolding it, he said in a clear voice, "The invasion of the demon tribe is imminent, and the fate of the empire is at stake for thousands of years. Qin Yin, in the name of the Empress, has mobilized the 3 armies. She has set up 7 armies at the tributary of the Daojiang River to the east of the 5 Valleys city to resist the invasion. The first army has 50,000 people, and will be led by the commander-in-chief Feng Jixing. The second army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Su Yu. The third army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Xiang Yu. The fourth army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Lin Muyu. The fifth army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Su Tao. The sixth army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Marquis of the Tranquil Sea, Yao Yuan. The seventh army has 50,000 people, and will be led by Marquis of the North Ridge, Tang Lu, and Marquis of the West Ridge, Tang Tian. The Minister of War, Xue Ling, will be responsible for the supply of food and weapons. The Great Deacon of the Spiritual Medicine Department, Chu Yao, will be responsible for the supply of medicine. The Empress, Qin Yin, will be moving to the 5 Valleys city to supervise the battle. Everyone knelt on the ground. Wei Chou was right beside Lin Muyu. He smiled faintly and said, "I can finally kill the enemy together with the commander again." Qin Yen smiled. "Lord Wei Chou, you still can't change your words. Big Brother isn't a commander right now. He's a commander, the commander of over 10,000 troops in the Longdan army camp." "Got it. I'll slowly change." Lin Muyu turned around to look at the two of them and said, "You guys lower your voices." Silence. "Yes, Lord Commander." "Have the troops from the Kingdom Guarding Army arrived yet?" "They arrived this morning. Lord Wei Chou and I have already gathered the troops. A full 20,000, not one more and not one less." "Big Sister Xiao, she didn't give them to the wrong people," Qin Yen said with a smile. Lin Muyu nodded in satisfaction and asked again, "Wei Chou, His Highness chose another 13,000 people from Muyu City's new recruits to make up an army of 50,000 for us. Are these troops counted?" "They're all here." Wei Chou smiled and said, "Don't worry, Commander. Even though these people are all new recruits, they've already trained for 3 months. As long as they aren't scared out of their wits, they should still be able to kill the enemy." "That's good." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Our 4th Army's defensive position just happens to be adjacent to Big Brother Feng's 1st Army. Once the fiends attack, it will be one of the biggest casualties, so we must be careful." "Yes." After the imperial edict was read out, everyone went to make their own preparations. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu brought Wei Chou, Qin Yen, and Fengxi, the 3 generals, and slowly left Zhe Tian Palace Hall while chatting about the matter of military supplies. "How many arrows do we have?" 200,000. Qin Yen said, "The Department of War has allocated 200,000 arrows to each army." "That's all we have." "Far from enough." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Does our Longdan army camp still have arrows in storage?" "Yes." Wei Chou said, "There are still over 100,000 arrows on Dragon Rocky Mountain. In addition, there are about 80,000 white diamond arrows." "Madam, can the white diamond arrows penetrate the carapace of the fiends?" "Yes, but 80,000 is far from enough." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "You guys go and attack everything the 4th Army needs first. I'll think of a way." "Yes." The army camp was outside Lanyan City. The 3 generals spurred their horses and left. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu gently stroked Takshu's snow-white mane and lightly spurred her straight in the direction of the Purple Flower Merchant Guild. On Skyspan Street, the various merchant guilds gradually regained their former prosperity. There was an endless stream of people coming and going. Smoke lingered above the ironware shops, and the clanking sounds rang out incessantly. When war came, the ironware shops' business couldn't be better. Some imperial officers wanted more convenient weapons, and some rangers and mercenaries also wanted to have their own weapons. All of these things had to be done in the ironware shops. Lin Muyu urged her horse forward slowly. She looked around and discovered that the signboards of the ironware shops outside the Purple Flower Merchant Guild had been changed to Purple Flower Weapon Shop. It seemed like Jin Xiaotang was indeed a talent. She had started off with just 3 million Jinin dollars and had already continuously swallowed up the surrounding industries. Once the Merchant Guild formed a complete industrial chain, it would be equivalent to a commercial empire. Right now, Lin Muyu needed a commercial empire to support her 50,000 troops of the Fourth Army. She couldn't completely rely on the imperial military for weapons, warhorses, rations, and so on. After all, Xue Ling was Tang Lan's subordinate. It would be fine if he supplied rations and weapons on time, but if he didn't, she would have to rely on herself. An employee of the Temple of Light recognized Lin Muyu long ago and hurriedly went forward and said respectfully, "Great Deacon, you're here." "Yes." Lin Muyu handed the warhorse to a servant and said, "Take me to see Xiaotang." "Yes." The two of them passed through the rows of herb shops, spirit stone shops, and weapon shops. When they reached the back hall, they heard Jin Xiaotang's voice from afar, "Shopkeeper Luo, not only is your shield not sturdy, it's also not durable enough. Our staff used your shield to do experiments and almost got shot to death. If you really want to join the Purple Flower Merchant Guild, it's not a problem, but we will take 30% of your profits. If you agree, then sign here. If not, then go to another merchant guild. However, since we are friends, I have to tell you that the dragon-seeking merchant guild will take at least 50% of your profits. Also, your daughter is so beautiful, maybe." Shopkeeper Luo's body trembled. "Deal, Miss Xiaotang." "Hee, that's right. The arm can't twist the thigh, but you have to be stubborn with me." "What a waste of time. This lady's time is very precious. I have to settle accounts, build relationships, and even go on dates." Shopkeeper Luo was speechless. Chapter 358. Xiaotang. Lin Muyu stepped in. "Brother Yu." Jin Xiaotang was overjoyed. She threw herself into Lin Muyu's arms and acted like a spoiled little sister. "You said that you would eat beef noodles with me this time. Humph, you haven't fulfilled your promise yet. Now you're going to war again." "I'm busy." Lin Muyu chuckled. "How's the business of the Chamber of Commerce?" "Everything is good." "Oh, there must be something you want me to do for you." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "This time, I have 50,000 subordinates and there is a serious shortage of arrows. So, you need to help me forge a large number of arrows. Is there a problem?" "No problem." Jin Xiaotang blinked her eyes and smiled proudly. "Our Purple Flower Chamber of Commerce has a total of 10 ironware shops. If we stop working for 3 days and focus on forging arrows, we should be able to give you around 200,000 arrows." "That's great." Lin Muyu smiled happily. "Also, we need other weapons. In short, we need to use all the funds of the Chamber of Commerce to supply ironware shops. Also, has the rice shop been opened?" "It has been opened for a long time." "Brother Yu, do you need Xiaotang to prepare provisions for you?" "Yes, it's good if we can." "I'm worried that." Jin Xiaotang was smart. She smiled and said, "I know. Brother has always been unpopular in the court. You have to rely on yourself for many things. But don't worry, you still have me. Apart from hiring manpower, it's nothing. Lanyan City has a lot of people. Don't worry, I'll handle everything." "Yes." At night, Lin Muyu invited the two beauties Jin Xiaotang and Chu Yao to a meal. This could be considered a gathering before the expedition. Although Chu Yao, as the chief deacon of the spiritual medicine department, was responsible for the medicines needed for the war, it was not easy to see her. Moreover, if the demons truly crossed the river to fight, Lin Muyu would also be very busy. The next day, the army set out. Early in the morning, mist lingered in the forest. Lin Muyu rode treading snow as she slowly followed the fourth corps. At the same time, she appointed 5 captaincy: Wei Chou, Qin Yan, Fengxi, Tang Ren, and Zhang Feng. Tang Ren was Tang Zhen's cousin and Zhang Feng was a new captaincy from Sunset Rain City. Qin Yan hung the fire serpent spear on the back of the horse, unfurled a map and looked at it, saying, "According to our marching speed, it will take at least half a month to reach Maple Forest Ferry. Big brother, isn't it too late?" Lin Muyu nodded. "It's true that we're a bit late, but our fourth corps has 50,000 people, and nearly 40,000 of them are heavy cavalry. It doesn't matter, if there's a battle at Maple Forest Crossing, we'll be able to rush over at any time. Don't worry, the Imperial Navy has already arrived at Daojiang River. With them here, the demons won't be able to cross." "Yes." Lin Muyu looked around her. Everyone within a radius of a few miles was the 4th Army Corps, and she was the supreme commander of this army. She couldn't help but feel proud. She didn't have much military power in the Battle of Winterfrost City, but this time, she was in charge. It was time to deal with the Nephilim army and show them the power of the human army. 9 days later, the army passed by 5 Valleys City. On both sides of the official road, there were actually countless commoners of the 5 Valleys City sending them off. Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and the others couldn't help but smile. Who said that the Imperial Army was unpopular? At this time, the Imperial Army was heading to the front lines, but they were actually receiving such love and respect from the commoners. For a moment, the commoners on the roadside were delivering water, sweet potatoes, dry rations, eggs, and so on to the soldiers. Lin Muyu felt her scalp go numb as she watched. She suddenly felt like she was watching the Red Army going to war. Actually, the people were the most practical. If you fought for the people would naturally support you. If you fought for your own status, what did it have to do with the people? In addition to the people, there was also a group of soldiers from 5 Valleys City. They escorted rations and weapons and waited here to supply the army passing by. In the distance, a man rode over and said, "Where is Commander Lin of the 4th Corps?" Lin Muyu quickly rode out and said, "I'm here." "Who are you?" He was wearing the rank of captaincy. He cupped his hands respectfully and said, "I'm Zhang Bao, the general of the garrison of 5 Valleys City, waiting here for the 4th Corps. We have been waiting here since last night. Here, Commander, please take a look. These are the supplies prepared by 5 Valleys City for the 4th Corps. There are 2,000 steel swords, 10,000 spears, 5,000 shields, 40,000 arrows, and 2,000 carriages of rations. I hope you don't think it's too little. 5 Valleys City can only provide so much." "Well, thank you very much. You've worked hard." Lin Muyu gave him a very standard imperial military salute. He looked handsome, plus he was wearing a commander's armor, carrying a sword, and riding a treading-in snow warhorse. For a time, a group of girls from 5 Valleys City ran over, and their faces were full of infatuation. "Wow, that commander is so handsome. Who is he? He seems to be one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan conferred by the former emperor." "Yes, this is the 4th Corps. He is Lin Muyu, who is ranked 2nd in the 4 heroes of Lanyan. He is even more handsome than Commander Feng Jixing." Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Would Feng Jixing go berserk after hearing this? As a result, the girls crowding and praising also caused a lot of complaints, especially from the garrison of 5 Valleys City. They could have gone to the front line to fight against the demons, but the Empress didn't call for them. Therefore, they could only be responsible for the transportation of rations. Why can only the Imperial Army go to the front line? Do the people of Five Valleys City deserve to work with grains and straws all day long? Yes, why can only they go to fight against the demons, and why can't we? Yes, they don't have an extra eye or an extra leg than me. Why can't I, Zhao Ritian, be the first to disagree? Wei Chou immediately rushed forward with his sword, raised his eyes, and scolded, "What are you arguing about? Do you think fighting against the demons is child's play? If you really go to the front line, maybe you would have been scared to death." In the crowd, the centurion named Zhao Ritian saw Wei Chou coming over and took a few steps back. Wei Chou pointed his sword at him and said, "Zhao Ritian, you better be careful and restrain your subordinates. If they continue to make noise here, don't blame me, Wei Chou, for being merciless." Zhao Ritian hurriedly cupped his fists respectfully and said, "Sir, please calm down. I know I am wrong." He quickly turned around and shouted at his subordinates, "All of you, shut up. Don't say another word. Just treat it as giving me, Zhao Ritian, some face." Everyone kept quiet out of fear and did not dare to say another word. Lin Muyu did not stop and continued to walk slowly with the army while carrying the pear blossom spear. At the same time, he sent a team of cavalry to take away all the supplies sent from Five Valleys City. These were all good things in war. After experiencing the nightmarish, cruel war in Winterfrost City, Lin Muyu had learned how important supplies were. The army is based on food. This sentence from Zhuge Liang's 24 chapters on the art of war was the truth for the army. At this moment, someone suddenly shouted from the crowd of Five Valleys City, "Sir Lin Ji! Sir Lin Ji!" Lin Muyu was stunned. This voice was very familiar, and there were not many people who knew his real name. Who was it? He hurriedly turned around and saw a man wearing the rank of a centurion squeezing through the crowd toward him. It was Qin Xiling, who he had not seen for a long time. The former Bronze Star sparring master of the Sanctum. Why was he here? Overjoyed, Lin Muyu hurriedly dismounted and walked forward. He suddenly hugged Qin Xiling and laughed loudly. "Xiling, after you disappeared from the Sanctum, I thought you had died in battle. I didn't expect to see you here." Qin Xiling was also ecstatic. "After the Battle of Lanyan City and the Sanctum was breached, I and a few other Sanctum sparring masters were chased by the Yihe nation's army. We were stranded among the refugees and finally came to Five Valleys City. I felt that I was too ashamed to return to the Sanctum, so I joined the army here." "Sir Lin Ji, you are now an army commander?" Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly. "Yes. Are you going to the Daojiang branch?" Qin Xiling asked. "Yes." Qin Xiling's eyes flashed with a trace of longing. He said, "You must be careful. I heard that the demons are all extremely cruel and powerful. Marquis Min Yulin's army of 100,000 died in Winterfrost City. To be honest, we are all very afraid that we can't hold the Daojiang River. If that happens, Five Valleys City will become a dead city again." Lin Muyu's eyes were shining. She smiled and said, "Not just Five Valleys City. If the demons really win, the entire human race will be extinct. By the way, Xiling, don't you want to go with me?" Of course I want to. But now I am a soldier of the Five Valleys City, it's okay." "Who are you working for?" "Captaincy, Zhang Bao." "Oh, it's him. It's okay. I will write a letter to him. You can go directly with my 4th Legion." "Okay." Qin Xiling was very excited. Lin Muyu immediately wrote a short letter and asked someone to send it to Zhang Bao. The general meaning was very clear. She wanted him by force. In fact, Qin Xiling's cultivation was very low. He was not much stronger than an ordinary soldier. Zhang Bao would definitely give him the letter. After entering the 4th Legion, Lin Muyu still let Qin Xiling be the centurion. After getting to know Qin Yan, Wei Chou, Fengxi, and the others, they got along very well. 5 days later, they arrived at the place of defense, Maple Ferry. Originally, it was just a simple ferry, but now it had been built into a camp. Before the 4th Legion arrived, they had already started to build the city. The city was less than 100 meters away from the Rice River. The height of the city wall was about 20 meters. Now, it had been built about 10 meters, but it was still far from enough. At this time, the ferry had become the anchorage of the Imperial Navy. A total of 20 warships were neatly lined up on the shore. When Lin Muyu arrived at the ferry with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the other captaincy, the navy on the warships also quickly disembarked. A bearded general wearing the rank of captaincy respectfully cupped his fists and said, "General Situ Lai has been waiting for Commander Lin here for a long time under the order of Commander Bailey Tsang." Lin Muyu smiled slightly and went forward to help Situ Lai up. She said, "General is too polite. Has there been any movement from the other side these days?" "Yes." Situ Lai said in a deep voice, "The demon race army has set up camp on the other side. According to my observation, they have at least 10,000 people on the other side. Most of them are the legendary cockroaches." "Armor demons?" "Yes." "Got it." Lin Muyu looked at Wei Chou at the side and said, "Send people to set up camp on the shore. 1 camp every 10 li, 5 camps on the north and south. Send out light cavalry to scout and observe the movements of the demon race at any time." "Yes, Commander." Chapter 359. The 4th Legion had been stationed at Maple Forest Ferry for close to half a month without any battle. Even though the camp of the fiend race could be faintly seen on the other side, those fiends kept lying in wait, making people very anxious. In the early morning, mist shrouded the entire city. This new city was already beginning to take shape. In order to build this new city, a mountain at the back was practically leveled. Close to 100,000 commoners toiled day and night to build this city. It was truly not easy. Fengxi held his saber as he paced back and forth on the city walls, saying somewhat impatiently, "What the hell are these fiends doing? Are they still not attacking? Darren. In my opinion, we have warships and heavy cavalry. Why don't we directly charge over and kill to our heart's content with the fiends?" "No." Lin Muyu waved her hand and said with a smile, "Fengxi, don't look down on the fiends. Their combat strength is far more terrifying than you imagine. If we underestimate the enemy, we will definitely suffer a crushing defeat. Do you know why Her Highness ordered the construction of this new city in a short time? It's because she also knows the power of the fiends, so she has already made plans to rely on the city to defend. The fiends are not good at fighting on the water and are not good at attacking cities. Always remember this." "Yes, this subordinate understands." At the side, Wei Chou narrowed his eyes and said, "We can receive feather letters from the other 6 great legions every day. It's quiet along the Rice River. The fiends have been lying in ambush for so long, just what are they doing? Furthermore, the most hateful thing is that the scouts we sent out were practically all killed. We can be said to be completely ignorant of the situation on the other side." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, "How about this? I'll go to the eastern shore to investigate the situation tonight. You guys guard the city well." "No way." Qin Yan hurriedly said, "The eastern shore is too dangerous. Big brother, you absolutely can't go alone." "Don't worry." Lin Muyu raised her brows and said, "I'll sneak over and sneak back. I won't alarm the main force of the fiends. You guys be careful too, just in case the fiends attack at night." "Yes." That night, Lin Muyu changed into a set of black night clothes, carried the dragon spirit sword on his back, and then walked out of the city. Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and the others sent him to the riverside, and watched him swim away. On a summer night, the river water was extremely cool. Lin Muyu swam slowly while releasing her spiritual pulse technique to observe her surroundings. There were only fish in the river water. There were no terrifying creatures like the frost-armored horned dragon. It must be because the river water here was not deep or wide enough to satisfy the frost-armored horned dragon's needs. When he swam to the east bank, a strong and violent breath had appeared in the spiritual pulse technique. Yes, it was the breath of the armor demons. The armor demons were the main fighting force of the demon clan and could be seen everywhere. Additionally, she could sense the chi of an armor demon every 50 m in front of her. However, Lin Muyu couldn't find any armor demon even though she squinted her eyes. Therefore, there was only one possibility: these armor demons had disguised themselves. Splat, 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 the river water slowly dripped from her clothes onto the ground. Lin Muyu quietly entered the reeds by the riverside, and then stepped into the jungle. Not far ahead was the breath of an armor demon. Lin Muyu hid in the grass and observed for a long time. Finally, he found that the grass on the opposite side suddenly shook. It was an armor demon scratching itself. Lin Muyu immediately smiled. It turned out that the armor demons were really lying in ambush here, waiting for the scouts of the human army. No wonder none of the scouts sent by the Empire survived. Lin Muyu slowly drew out her sword. When the dragon spirit sword left the sheath, it made a slight sound of friction. Lin Muyu dashed over in a big stride. Before the armor demon hiding in the grass could react, she swung her sword down. The cold sword light flashed in the jungle and the armor demon was split into two halves from head to shoulder. A stream of turbid red blood splashed out. Holding the bloody long sword, Lin Muyu walked in the jungle like a phantom under the cover of the jungle. As the sword light flashed by, another armor demon was killed. Relying on the detection of the spiritual pulse method, the armor demons here had nowhere to hide, which made it more convenient for Lin Muyu to move under the cover of the night. After touching the 3 consecutive defense lines of the demons, Zhang Tai saw the demons camp just hundreds of meters away. Inside the camp, there were piles of bonfires. Their way of living was very simple. They didn't even need barracks. Armor demons were very strong. They probably wouldn't get sick even if they slept in the open air. Moving forward, Zhang Tai could see the flickering bonfires. She could hear the sounds of axes cutting down trees and saws rubbing wood. Hiding in the bushes, Lin Muyu saw a group of humans working under the bonfires. As they cut down trees fell down rapidly one after another. On one side, pieces of sawn wood were being nailed together with horizontal boards. It looked like a huge wooden board. In the farther place, the same huge wooden boards had been piled up into a high pile. There were at least 100 of them. After being nailed together, each wooden board could carry about 10 armor demons, which meant that over 1,000 armor demons could be transported across the river. At the sight of this, Lin Muyu couldn't help but draw in a cold breath. Demons' way of attack was so simple. They didn't need to build a battlefield at all. They just used such primitive wooden boards to cross the river. How terrifying! It was conceivable that there were many such wood construction sites here. More than half of the forest on the east bank of Daojiang River had been cut down. By then, tens of thousands of wooden boards would be thrown into the tributaries of Daojiang River. Who could stop 100,000 armor demons crossing the river? With her heart beating rapidly, Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Behind each group of human craftsmen were some armor demons. These armor demons were supervising the work. In order to survive, these humans had to continue working. No wonder that senior demon said that as long as Yang Wei Kor was willing to be his slave, he would spare its life. Now that she thought about it, if Min Yulan surrendered at the same time, she might also become one of these craftsmen. Demons were enslaving humans and using human intelligence to deal with humans. After leaving quietly, Lin Muyu didn't do anything anymore. It was useless to kill more armor demons. Additionally, he would be discovered easily. Additionally, for the sake of safety, he threw all the corpses of those armor demons into Daojiang River. After that, he crossed the river. The torches on the other bank were flickering. After 4 hours, Qin Yan and Wei Chou were still guarding the bank. "Elder brother is over there." Qin Yan hurriedly urged his horse to rush over. Lin Muyu slowly climbed onto the bank and suddenly exerted his strength. Do Qi whizzed past, shaking off most of the water on his clothes. He wiped the river water on his face and said, "They are building a boat." "Building a boat? Impossible." Wei Chou was stunned. "We didn't see any demon boat." "Don't tell me they don't need to go into the water?" "Yes, their boats don't need to be tested. They are all nailed together with huge wooden planks. Moreover, there are a lot of them. The demons have enslaved the humans on the east bank of Daojiang River to cut down trees for them to make these planks. It won't be long before they launch a fierce attack." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Immediately send a letter to the other 6 armies to explain the situation." "Yes." Wei Chou's expression was cold as he said, "Darren, how should we prepare?" Lin Muyu said, "The demons are afraid of water. I don't know if they are afraid of fire. I think they should be afraid of it as well. The armor demons have transparent wings on their backs. Using fire to burn them should be effective. Darren wants to, what is the easiest thing to ignite? Black beech oil. This is the easiest thing to use to attack with fire. Then prepare more. That's right, can the black beech oil float on the water and burn? Yes. That's good." Lin Muyu narrowed his eyes and said, "Prepare more black beech oil and move it all to our 20 boats. Also, cover the sides of our boats with metal sheets." Wei Chou smiled, Darren's brilliant plan. That night, Lin Muyu did not sleep at all. He was worried that the implementation of this plan would not go as smoothly as he imagined. He was even more worried that the demons would have other thoughts. Just at this time, Wei Chou's voice suddenly came from outside, "Commander, they came before dawn." "Who came?" "The winged ones." Wei Chou said indifferently, "As you expected, the demons used the same trick again. They wanted to use the winged ones' flying advantage to burn down our rations. Fortunately, our rations were all stored in the cellar and did not suffer any damage. However, several dozen soldiers were shot to death by the winged ones. These winged ones' archery is really not simple." Lin Muyu opened the curtain and walked out, asking, "Wei Chou, your archery is the best in the entire army. Can you kill these winged ones?" "I can't." Wei Chou shook his head and replied awkwardly, "With this subordinate's arm strength, I won't be able to shoot past 150 meters, and most of the winged ones can fly above 200 meters, so this subordinate can't do anything about it." "That's right, although I can't, there's someone who can." "Who?" "Qin Xiling." "Oh, Xiling? This subordinate will take Darren to have a look." In the camp, Qin Xiling was fiddling with a bronze-colored machine. It was obvious at a glance that it was a crossbow, but it was the type that could shoot 10 bursts in a row. "Xiling." Lin Muyu greeted with a smile. Qin Xiling hurriedly turned around and smiled respectfully. His face was a bit awkward as he said, "I used to fiddle with some machines, but father always said I was useless. Now, I've modified a hunting carriage used by hunters to hunt giant eagles into a crossbow carriage. It's powerful, and if it's calibrated a bit better, it might be able to kill those winged ones." Lin Muyu nodded, "Then do your research well. If you need anything, tell Wei Chou directly. He will do his best to satisfy you." "Yes." Qin Xiling said happily, "Commander, when I fiddled with these things before, everyone looked down on me and thought I was not doing proper work. Only you encouraged me." Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "If the crossbow you invented could kill more demons, you would be the Empire's hero. Heroes don't necessarily have to charge into battle. Amen. Lin Muyu felt very ashamed. Although she came from another world and understood many methods of making weapons, she really didn't have much research on cold weapons. Otherwise, she would have been able to make some divine weapons like the Zhuge crossbow. If the demons really dared to come, she would kill them all. Thinking about it, she began to laugh. "Commander, what are you laughing at?" Wei Chou asked. "No, nothing." Lin Muyu wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth. "What are we eating for lunch today? Is there meat?" "There is." Chapter 360. A small boat swayed from the river. A young and handsome man sat on the heavily decayed deck, and behind him was an old man paddling the boat. The small boat slowly moved, heading straight for the Empire's encampment on the west bank. This was the mountain forest town's ferry, the place with the most rapid flow of the Daojiang tributary in the entire Cangnan province, and Feng Jixing's 50,000 elite soldiers of the First Legion were stationed on the opposite side. "Who are you? Stop or else we'll shoot." A group of archers and shield soldiers rushed out from the forest. Each of them had the Empire's purple flower emblem on their shoulders. The old man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. "Don't shoot, I'm a human, don't shoot, I'm a citizen of the Empire." In the crowd, a centurion unsheathed his sword and stepped forward, saying, "You've come from River East. Who are you?" At this time, the handsome young man sitting at the bow slowly stood up and took off his bamboo hat, revealing a handsome face. The face was very perfect, as if it was created by the heaven and earth. However, under his thick eyebrows was a pair of light purple eyes that looked a bit flirtatious. He smiled and cupped his fist. "First Legion's Marshal Qianfeng wants to see Her Highness Qin Yin. I wonder if I have the chance to meet Her Highness." The centurion was stunned. "Divine Marshal? You are a demon? You can say that? In your human's mouth, I am indeed a demon." Qianfeng's purple eyes looked at the centurion and said, "This time, I am under the order of His Highness the Third Prince of the Celestial Race. Please inform Her Highness." "Humph." The centurion raised his eyebrows. "Let's go ashore. Men, tie him up for me." "Yes." A group of people rushed forward and quickly tied up Qianfeng. As for the old man who was paddling the boat, he was just an ordinary human, so they didn't make things difficult for him. After many days of construction, the First Legion's encampment had taken shape. The city walls were made of white rocks, and the sounds of training could be heard from within the city. Qianfeng was pushed into the city by the crowd, but there was no fear in his eyes. Instead, he smiled slightly, as if he was mocking the human army's combat power. In the central tent, Qin Yin sat on the commander's seat while Feng Jixing, Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and the others stood on both sides, reporting the battle situation respectfully. Right at this moment, a messenger entered the tent, cupped his fists and said, "Greetings, Your Highness, General Feng. There is a person outside who claims to be the commander of the First Demon Army, called Qianfeng, asking for an audience." "Qianfeng?" Qin Yin frowned. "Who is he?" Feng Jixing said, "Your Highness, the demon race is divided into two armies, the First Army and the Second Army. The Lei Chong that you mentioned before should be the commander of the Second Army. As for the person outside, I don't know if he is real or not. Should we summon him?" "Amen," Qin Yin nodded. Feng Jixing shot a glance at Zhang Wei, who immediately waved his hand, saying, "Archers, axemen, prepare yourselves. Archers, switch to white diamond arrows and listen to my command." "Yes, sir." At least 100 archers and axemen immediately hid on both sides of the tent. A few minutes later, a group of imperial soldiers pushed Qianfeng into the central tent. He was dressed in green, but there was an unconcealable arrogance between his brows. After entering the tent, he suddenly moved his hands behind his back like butterflies. Wisps of black energy enshrouded him, and the ropes came off in the blink of an eye. "Protect His Highness." Feng Jixing immediately stood up, his windcutter already halfway out of its sheath. Qianfeng smiled, saying, "General Feng Jixing, there is no need to be nervous. Qianfeng will not harm His Highness." With that, he looked at Qin Yin, who was sitting on the martial seat, only to see this imperial princess dressed in a dark blue military uniform, elegant and dignified. Her carved face had a trace of anger as she looked at him. Her entire person seemed to be made of jade, graceful and graceful. In an instant, Qianfeng couldn't help but bow deeply, saying, "God Race Marshal Qianfeng greets Your Highness Qin Yin." Qin Yin said indifferently, "Qianfeng, what are you doing in the imperial camp?" "Seeking peace." Qianfeng smiled. Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh, "Seeking peace? The demon race has trampled on my empire's territory, and you actually come here to ask for peace?" "Yes, it's seeking peace." Qianfeng's expression was calm as he looked respectfully at Qin Yin, saying, "Your Highness, this time, the third prince personally led the God Race's army to recapture the Central Plains. Along the way, they have captured dozens of cities in Tongtian Province, Lingdong Province, and Cangnan Province. They are unstoppable. However, His Highness said that as long as the Empire hands over one person, His Highness will use Rice River as the boundary and coexist peacefully with the Empire." "Rice River as the boundary?" Qin Yin frowned. She didn't show any anger. "What do you demons think our empire is? Do you think we can stop fighting just because you say so?" Feng Jixing sneered and said, "Qianfeng, tell me first, who do you want from the empire?" "Lin, Mu, Yu." Qianfeng said word by word. Zhang Wei and Luo Yu were startled at the same time. "Commander Yu?" Qin Yin was also surprised. This had touched the deepest part of her heart. Her eyes flashed with killing intent as she asked, "Qianfeng, what do you want Lin Muyu to do?" Qianfeng bowed with a smile and said politely, "Your Highness, Qianfeng has an older brother called Kai Yun. A few years ago, he was a pioneer who came to the human world in search of the 9 holy weapons. However, he was killed by the humans in the end. I investigated and finally found out that he died in the hands of a man called Lin Muyu. And this Lin Muyu is now a commander of the Empire's army. So, if you hand over Lin Muyu to ease the hatred in my heart, Qianfeng has already persuaded His Highness to delay the attack. Is that so?" Qin Yin looked at him indifferently and said, "It seems that Marshal Qianfeng has made a mistake." Feng Jixing laughed and pressed his hand on the hilt of the windcutter saber. He said, "I'm guessing that the Marshal wants Commander Yu not only because he killed your brother, but also because Commander Yu's intelligence and strength make you tremble with fear, right?" Qianfeng was surprised and smiled. General Feng is a straightforward man. Indeed, in the Battle of Winter Frost City, Lin Muyu was able to escape from Marshal Lei Chang's hammer and even wounded him. This ability is enough to make us restless. As long as Lin Muyu is alive, the celestial race will never be at peace. I, Qianfeng, will not be at peace either. So, Your Highness, please decide. It's up to you whether you want to hand over Commander Yu or not." Qin Yin said quietly, "Marshal Qianfeng thinks too much. Commander Yu is Qin Yin's sworn brother and is also Qin Yin's true love. I would rather risk the destruction of the world to fight against the demon race than betray the one I love." "I see." Qianfeng looked up at Qin Yin with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. He cupped his fists and said, "In that case, Qianfeng will have to trouble you." At the side, Zhang Wei had already drawn his sword, and he chuckled, "Qianfeng, you brat, you're clearly courting death by coming to the First Legion's campsite alone. How can I, Zhang Wei, not fulfill your wish?" "Archers!" Immediately, a group of archers rushed into the central tent amidst the rustling sounds. Their white diamond arrowheads were all aimed at Qianfeng. Feng Jixing also pulled out his wind cutter, the purple electric flame wolf martial soul circling around his body. What was even more frightening was that Feng Jixing's body was surrounded by a whirlwind of raging flames. It was the symbol of the first heaven of the Saint Realm, raging whirlwind Do Qi. Feng Jixing had stepped into the Saint Realm. Facing such a strong enemy, Qianfeng still stood there calmly, with a trace of adoration in his eyes as he looked at Qin Yin, cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness Qin Yin, Qianfeng admires your Highness's peerless beauty. If we were not enemies, how good would it be, Qianfeng could let go of everything to pursue you. If your Highness could accompany me, it would be a long-cherished wish of mine." Qin Yin's mouth curved into a smile. "Marshal Qianfeng, you are thinking too much. What you should be thinking now is how to face the current situation. Since you dared to come here alone, you should have thought of this result, right?" "Heh." Qianfeng laughed and said, "Your Highness, before I left, Qianfeng had ordered my subordinates, if I don't return within 2 hours, they will immediately cross the river and attack. I have 200,000 soldiers, just the boulders alone is enough to fill up the river. At that time, with your Highness's army, can you stop the divine race's army?" Qin Yin was startled. Feng Jixing frowned at the side and said, "Your Highness, when 2 armies cross swords, envoys are not to be killed. Moreover, Qianfeng is the demon race's marshal. Let's just let him go and have a fair battle. Feng Jixing also wants to meet this demon race marshal." Qianfeng laughed, as expected of the flaming wolf Feng Jixing. "This kind of courage is not something an ordinary human can have, admirable." Qin Yin nodded and said, "Men, send Marshal Qianfeng back to River East." "Yes." Zhang Wei stepped out of the ranks and personally led Qianfeng out of the central tent. As soon as Qianfeng left, Qin Yin frowned and said, "General Feng, you should be able to see that this Qianfeng is both brave and intelligent. The commander of the battle at Winter Frost City must be him. If we don't kill him today, it is the same as letting the tiger return to the mountain." Feng Jixing nodded his head and said, "I know. Your Highness, although Qianfeng said that using stones to fill up Rice River was an alarmist, but our preparations are not sufficient. The Black Beach oil from 5 Valley City and Divine Shadow City will only arrive in another 6 hours or so. We need this period of time, so. Your Highness, please be patient." "Ah, I understand. When does General Feng think the demons will attack?" "Only today, it won't be long. They are also preparing for this war." "Brother you, then, haha, don't worry." Feng Jixing grinned and said, "You is smarter than anyone. Moreover, the elite troops of Longdan Army Camp and Holy Temple Camp are all in his hands. If the demons cross the river and attack by force, his 4th Corps is the most stable. Your Highness, you should worry more about your Aunt Lien, Tang Lu, and Tang Tian's positions." "Oh," Qin Yin blushed and sat there in a daze. She didn't know what to do. If she could, she really wanted to fly to the 4th Corps' position 100 miles away. Unfortunately, she was the Empress and had to stay in the 1st Corps to oversee the whole army. Moreover, Feng Jixing also needed her to intimidate the 30,000 troops of Muyu City. After all, they were not under Feng Jixing's direct command. Chapter 361. In the Demon Camp. Qianfeng put on a pure black armor and stepped into the tent with his cloak fluttering in the wind. He looked around with a gloomy look. There were over 20 people in the tent, all of whom were high-level demons. Pairs of purple eyes were looking at him. Only one of them was an armor demon, a high-rank armor demon. He was the legendary marshal of the 2nd Corps, Lei Chong. Lei Chong smiled at Qianfeng. The pair of curved fangs on his face looked particularly ferocious. He said in a very clumsy voice, "Marshal Qianfeng, is it a victory?" Qianfeng smiled, "It went well. Thank you for your concern, Marshal Lei Chong." After saying this, he bowed to the young man on the seat and said, "Your Highness, Qin Yin refused our request. Human beings refuse to hand over Lin Muyu. Then prepare for war. The third prince's handsome face was filled with cruelty. He toyed with the jade cup in his hand and said, I can't wait to control the entire Middle Earth. This is the home of our god race. We can finally go home again. Your Highness. Qianfeng wanted to say something but stopped on second thought. The third prince raised his head and asked, What's wrong, Marshal Qianfeng, what's the matter? Qianfeng said, Can we change the plan? I'm afraid that our plan of water war won't go well. Why? Lei Chong hurriedly asked. Qianfeng smiled. When I was walking in the human camp, I smelled a familiar smell, but I'm not sure. What smell? The third prince asked. Qianfeng frowned. The smell of oil, a strong and strange smell. I heard that human beings have a kind of oil that will burn when it meets fire. It's called black beech oil. Therefore, I'm afraid that the Empire will attack with fire. If they do that, we won't be able to carry out our cube ship plan. Instead, we will suffer undeserved losses. No. The third prince said resolutely, we can't change the plan of attack. We've been preparing for this meticulous plan for half a month. We can't wait any longer. Father doesn't want us to wait any longer. We have to carry out the original plan. Marshal Qianfeng, don't worry. You've seen the battle strength of the armored demons. Even if the human beings attack with fire, we can still kill them. Your Highness, please reconsider. Qianfeng frowned. Say no more. The third prince stood up, flicked his sleeves, and said, Proceed according to the original plan. 4 hours later, we will start the war. The first warrior to reach the western shore would be rewarded with 100,000 Shindu coins and be conferred the title of general. Whoever captures Qin Yin will be conferred the title of marshal. Yes. The demon generals cupped their fists in greeting, their faces full of smiles. Only Qianfeng frowned and stood there without saying a word. At dusk, the setting sun shone like blood on the Daojiang River, illuminating 1,000 miles of sparkling water. At Maple Forest Ferry, battleships slowly entered the port. The Navy Captaincy Situ Lai ordered to seal off the port. After much consideration, Lin Muyu decided not to use the battleships to directly participate in the defense. After all, the number of battleships of the Empire Navy was limited. If they burned one, it would be one less. Lin Muyu stood by the river in his Sanctum Grand Deacon battle robe. He looked at the eastern shore from afar. The night wind blew his cape, making it flutter. At the side, Qin Yan, Wei Chou, and Fengxi were quietly guarding. Is the black beech oil ready? Lin Muyu asked. It's ready. Qin Yan cupped his fists and smiled, a total of 8,000 barrels of black beech oil. It's enough to burn dozens of miles of land on the river. Big brother, don't worry. The demon race won't be able to attack. Lin Muyu said calmly, pass down the order. After the demon race attacks, don't be anxious. Wait until their ships reach the middle of the river before pouring the 8,000 barrels of black beech oil down. Wait until their ships are 30 meters away from the shore before setting it on fire, catching them off guard. Also, wait for the battle by the shore. Shield formation in the first row, archery formation behind. Everyone change to white drill arrows and aim at the heads of the demon race. We must kill one with one arrow. We must not let them go ashore. Yes. The three of them raised their heads. Not long later, the night slowly fell and torches finally appeared on the opposite shore. Just like what Feng Jixing said in the letter, the demon race was preparing to attack. They are going into the water. Wei Chou squinted his eyes and said as he looked into the distance. Lin Muyu's hand pressed on the hilt of the sword at her waist, her gaze cold as she looked at the opposite shore. Following the splashing sounds of water, huge wooden planks were thrown into the water. The opposite shore was densely packed, at least 5 miles of the demon race's simple and crude warships were everywhere. Luckily, the Fourth Army had enough people and the Empire's defense line was everywhere along the shore. "They're here." Wei Chou gripped the demon-devouring bow tightly, a trace of anticipation and excitement flashing through his eyes. Qin Yan's eyes were filled with deep hatred. He was different from Wei Chou. Qin Yan had personally experienced the Battle of Winter Frost City and knew the cruelty and strength of the demon race. To him, this battle was not to establish a career but to take revenge. Actually, how could Lin Muyu's heart not be like this? How many soldiers of the Empire had been buried in foreign lands and this demon army in front of her had once again stepped into human territory? If they didn't fight, they would die. The sound of water became especially dense. In the distance, a black mass of demon race warships had already crossed the river. Lin Muyu waited quietly until the other party's warships reached the center of the river. She suddenly raised her hand and said, "Wei Chou, send the signal." Wei Chou raised his hand and a rocket soared into the sky. Immediately, the soldiers on the shore all opened the oil barrels that they had prepared, and the thick smell of black beech oil filled their noses. Walala walala, a large amount of black beech oil was quickly poured into the water and spread out. The entire west bank seemed to have turned black in an instant. Dang, Lin Muyu slowly pulled out her sword, her gaze cold as she looked at the opposite side and said, "Prepare the fire." The group of soldiers all raised their torches high up. "Please don't retreat." Lin Muyu prayed softly in the bottom of his heart. They didn't disappoint him. The demon army continued to row forward with the bamboo and were getting closer and closer. Under the moonlight, Lin Muyu watched their movements from afar. She suddenly frowned and said, "Be careful of their spear-throwing attack. Raise your heavy shields." Everyone raised their shields in front of them. As expected, black shadows whizzed over in the night wind. The tyrannical and powerful spears fell on the west shore. The armor demons had such strong arm strength to be able to throw such powerful spears from over 100 meters away. In the next moment, the shield soldiers on the west shore howled miserably. Many people were still pierced through by the spears and died in battle. Looking at the collapsed shield formation, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown and loudly said, "Brothers, steady." Under his loud shout, the soldiers of the Longdan army camp all replaced their fallen comrades and raised the shield formation again. The armor demons were getting closer and closer. Qin Yan said, "Big brother, the armor demons can fly. Although it's not far, let's start a fire. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if they fly to the shore." "Yes, fire." Lin Muyu took the lead and threw thousands of torches into the river. Splash! Flames shot up into the sky, and the light blue flame spread rapidly on the surface of the water. The entire Rice River seemed to have turned into a sea of fire, and how could the speedily moving ships stop? In an instant, all the ships at the front were set ablaze, and under the night breeze, the flames spread to the ships at the back. Countless armor demons were dancing in the fire. Although the armor demons had thick skin and rough flesh, once the wings behind them were burned, they were really finished. In an instant, many armor demons all jumped off the ship. However, they didn't know how to swim. They just flopped a few times and sank one after another. They were buried in Rice River. Ha ha ha. The Empire's soldiers on the west shore roared with laughter. Their faces were filled with endless excitement and joy. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and looked at the square ships that were still moving in the fire. She loudly said, "Don't underestimate the enemy. Prepare for close combat. They're coming. Everyone be careful." Sure enough, although it was on fire, the momentum of the square ships didn't stop. They quickly reached the shore. Armor demons covered in flames pounced on them. Although most of them fell to the ground and cried miserably halfway. "Shoot them to death with arrows. Qin Yan loudly said. Thousands of arrows were fired on the shore. Perhaps the fire made the armor demons lose the protection of their hard armor. Very soon, they were shot into hedgehogs. They fell to the ground while screaming miserably. Their screams were indescribably mournful and desolate. Roar, behind them, there were still a large number of armor demons coming ashore. Lin Muyu held her longsword and rushed forward, guarding the perimeter of the fire formation. With a wave of her longsword, sword chi swept out in an arc, rapidly chopping 3 armor demons into pieces. Qin Yan also held the fire serpent spear and stood at the forefront, stabbing a few armor demons to death with a thrust and retraction of the spear. At the same time, the dragon scale armor on his body shone brightly, bouncing off the javelins of the armor demons. Kill! The morale of the Longdan army camp was greatly boosted. Everyone rushed forward with their sabers and tore the armor demons into pieces. However, some armor demons were very tenacious. They roared and waved their battle axes in the crowd. It was the first time for the soldiers of the Longdan army camp to feel the terror of the armor demons. When a group of people besieged and killed an armor demon, 2 or 3 people would be killed. The entire coast of Daojiang River had almost become a sea of fire. The armor demon corps launched attacks one after another. However, batches of them were shot and chopped on the shore. The tactic of the Longdan army camp was very simple. They let those unkillable armor demons enter the depth of the camp. A group of shield-bearers would surround them and kill the armor demons with the help of the spearmen. In this way, the casualties could be minimized to the greatest extent. Swish! The sword light flashed past, and another armor demon's head was chopped off. Lin Muyu rushed back and forth on the shore, as if she was possessed. Suddenly, she raised her fist and directly struck out with chaos of the common life, blasting 5 armor demons that were on fire on the shore into a pile of minced meat. Watch out for the sky! Qin Yan suddenly looked up. As expected, many winged people appeared in the sky with longbows in their hands. They looked ferocious under the illumination of the fire. They shot arrows from the sky and killed many soldiers of the Dragon Empire. You're courting death. Wei Chou turned around and shot an arrow into the sky, directly piercing through the heart of a winged being. He suddenly turned his body, the martial spirit's radiance flourished. After flicking away the winged being's arrows, he shot another arrow, killing another winged being. More and more archers aimed at the sky. If the winged people wanted to kill, they had to get close to the ground. However, their numbers could not be compared with the army of the Dragon Empire. Their corpses kept falling from the sky like rain. Chapter 362. The fire illuminated the riverbank red. With the counterattack of the Imperial Army, the winged demons could only give up on their aerial attacks, leaving thousands of corpses on the riverbank. They probably didn't expect there to be so many sharpshooters in the Imperial Army. In fact, they were just unlucky to run into the Longdan Army camp. Most of the soldiers in the Longdan Army camp were from the temple camp, and the soldiers were originally staff of the temple. They were all skilled in archery, so how could they not be proficient in archery? At the same time, the same thing happened at the other crossings along the riverbank. According to Feng Jixing's order, all the armies started to attack with fire. For a moment, the entire riverbank seemed to be coated with a layer of fire. The screams of the demons echoed endlessly. The armored demons knew that they were going to die, but they still kept charging towards the riverbank, as if they had received some kind of order. Until the latter half of the night, there were no more armored demon square boats coming from the opposite bank. The flames in the river gradually died out, and the Imperial soldiers along the riverbank began to clean up the battlefield. The corpses of the armored demons and winged people were dragged into the depths of the forest, burned, and buried. Lin Muyu also explicitly ordered everyone who handled the corpses to cover their mouths and noses with cloth to prevent the plague from spreading. However, it seemed that the armored demons were quite healthy and didn't get infected. In the early hours of the morning, the sky turned white, but there was still smoke rising from the riverbank. Many of the armored demons' corpses were still smoking and burning. The armored demons were afraid of fire and water. This was the last straw for the empire. Lin Muyu's face was full of gray marks. She simply wiped it off and went to the wounded barracks to check on the situation. Although they killed a lot of enemies in this battle, the empire still lost a lot of soldiers. The barracks was filled with wounded soldiers groaning in pain. Many of them were injured by the armored demons, and some even had their arms or legs cut off. The medical officers of the spiritual medicine department were bandaging and treating the wounded. Fortunately, there was an abundance of herbs here. Every wounded soldier could be treated, saving many lives. Commander. A wounded soldier hurriedly tried to get up to pay his respects. Lin Muyu hurriedly stepped forward to support him and said, "No need to be so polite, lie down." The wounded soldier nodded gratefully and said, "Commander, this lowly one killed an armor demon." "That's not bad. Did the clerk record it?" "Yes, he has. He said that I will at least be promoted to sergeant when I return to Lanyan City." "That's great. Rest well." "Thank you, Commander." After inspecting the casualty barracks, she returned to the central military tent. Lin Muyu's entire body was exhausted, and she sat down on the commander's seat. The martial spirit Golden Gourd slowly absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy of heaven and earth to replenish her expended fighting energy, while Qin Yen carried over a large bowl of meat soup and 3 large flatbreads, saying with a smile, "Big brother, eat something first. Killing for an entire night, you're definitely hungry." "Yes." Lin Muyu was so hungry that her stomach was growling. She took the food and wolfed it down. She looked up and said, "Ah Yen, summon the clerk. I want to hear the post-war statistics." "Yes." A few minutes later, a clerk walked in with a file. After bowing respectfully, he said, "Commander Yu, we killed a total of 7,248 armor demons and 1124 winged people in this battle. There were no captives. They didn't send out any high-level demons. All the corpses of the armor demons and winged people have been immediately disposed of, either buried or burned. Tell me about our situation." Lin Muyu said. "We." The clerk's expression was not very good. He said, "Our army has a total of 6,874 soldiers who died in battle, more than 13,000 were injured, and 25 are missing. So many people died in battle." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Record the list of those who died in battle in detail and send it back to Lanyan City. The Ministry of Revenue will distribute the pensions." "Yes, milord." The clerk said again, "We only have 500 barrels of black beech oil left." "Understood. You may leave." "Yes." At this moment, Wei Chou and Fengxi walked in side by side covered in blood. Wei Chou's face still carried the excitement of the battle. He said, "Your subordinates greet milord." Lin Muyu raised her head to look at them, then lowered her head to drink a big mouthful of meat soup. She asked, "Have you eaten?" "Yes, milord. We don't have enough black beech oil." Immediately urged the Ministry of War to prepare more. Without black beech oil, it will be very difficult to gain the upper hand in the next demon attack. "Yes." Wei Chou grinned and said, "It's said that all the black beech trees in Sangnan province have been cut down. The Ministry of Revenue has mobilized more than 500,000 civilians to collect black beech oil. Even the black beech oil in the Seven Stars Forest has been almost completely collected. I'm afraid this fire attack tactic can't be carried out for a while. Fortunately, we killed a lot of demons this time and should be able to intimidate them." How is the battle situation of the other corps?" Lin Muyu asked. Wei Chou said, "According to the information we just received, our 4th Corps has the most gains and the least losses. Lin Muyu was stunned. How is the situation of the other corps? Wei Chou took out the paper scroll at his waist and said after unfolding it, the first corps led by Feng Jixing has killed more than 5,000 armor demons and lost more than 10,000 of their own. The second corps led by Suyu has killed more than 3,500 armor demons and lost more than 8,000 of their own. The third corps led by Xiang Yu has killed more than 11,000 armor demons and lost more than 32,000 of their own. Yao Yuan and Su Long's positions are untouched. The 7th Corps' Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers have killed more than 1,000 armor demons and lost more than 9,000 of their own. My God, Lin Muyu couldn't help but put down the flatbread in her hand. She said in astonishment, "What is Xiang Yu doing? More than 30,000 people died?" "Yes." Wei Chou said, "Lord Xiang Yu's position has been attacked by nearly 20,000 armor demons. Therefore, the losses are quite high." "Then what are the Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers doing?" "They killed more than 1,000 armor demons and lost more than 9,000 of their own?" Lin Muyu asked angrily, "Are those two vegetarians?" Qin Yan said, "Big brother, the spy I arranged in the 7th Corps sent me a letter. He said that the Tang Lu and Tang Tian brothers were drinking and looking for pleasure. The day before yesterday, they were having fun with the camp concubines. They only woke up yesterday afternoon and delayed the battle arrangements. When the armor demons were crossing the river, their black beach oil wasn't completely connected. Therefore, more than 1,000 armor demons took advantage of the situation and went ashore. They could only fight in close combat. That's why they lost so many of their own. Only 1,000 armor demons." Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. 50,000 people can drown these armor demons with just a mouthful of saliva. What are Tang Lu and Tang Tian, these two marquises, doing? They are actually playing with the camp concubines. Simply disgraceful. Wei Chou said with a smile, "Commander, calm your anger. That's right, I just received a letter. Her Highness Yin will be escorted by Zhang Wei to our Maple Forest ferry position at a later time. They will arrive around nighttime. Her Highness's intention is to inspect the 4th Corps. But from what this general sees, Her Highness is only concerned about Commander." Lin Muyu grinned, "What exactly do you want to say?" Wei Chou laughed, "This general wants to say to immediately order people to boil water. Commander should take a hot bath and go to bed early. Tonight, change into a new set of armor and go see Her Highness. Don't be rude. Isn't that right, Commander?" Lin Muyu glared at him and said, "When the two armies are facing off, be serious. Don't be so mischievous all day. Yes, this subordinate will order people to boil water for Commander." That's right, Su Yu's position did not have any battles, so she personally led 2,000 Imperial cavalry to escort 4,000 barrels of black beach oil to us. They will arrive around the same time as Her Highness Yin. Got it. She really sent charcoal in snowy weather. Aunt Rui is reliable. Then this subordinate will go down. Good. Lin Muyu wolfed down the rest of the food. When he returned to his own barracks, the water was already boiled. After taking a bath, he hurriedly went to sleep. As the commander of the frontline army, he must recuperate his spirit. Although the demon race had killed a lot of the Empire's army in this battle, it should be considered as a crushing defeat for the demon race. They would definitely not let this matter rest. In his dreams, countless silhouettes floated past. He heard weeping sounds, heard miserable howls, and seemed to hear Qin Yin's soft voice, like a young girl's yearning. He also seemed to hear Tang Xiaoxi's voice, crying loudly, as if pouring out her despair. In his dreams, the collision of the wind-cutter blade and the bloodthirsty spear appeared. He heard Xiang Yu's loud laughter, and heard Feng Jixing's angry roars. When he woke up, it was already nightfall. "Commander, dinner is ready. Shall I bring it in?" Wei Chou said outside the tent. Bring it in. Thank you, Wei Chou. Commander, you're welcome. Are there any movements from the demon race? No, not a single movement. Strengthen the defenses. Yes. At this time, outside the demon race's tent, Qianfeng's sword-like eyebrows were tightly knitted. He paced back and forth in the open space with a gloomy expression. He said to the guard beside him, "Is Her Highness still sleeping?" "Yes." The guard cupped his fists and said, "Marshal Qianfeng, why don't you go back and rest first? It seems that Her Highness won't wake up for a while." "Rest? How can I rest?" Qianfeng was slightly angry and said, "We have lost nearly 30,000 armored demon warriors in this battle. This is a crushing defeat that our god race has never suffered before. You want me to rest?" The guard was silent like a cicada in winter. "Marshal, this subordinate knows his mistake. Please forgive me." Qianfeng didn't argue with him and said, "Go in and report again. Say that Qianfeng has an urgent matter and wants to see Her Highness." The guard looked embarrassed. "Marshal, please don't make things difficult for me. Her Highness the Third Prince said that no one is allowed to disturb his rest. If the Third Prince gets angry, I'm afraid that I won't be able to keep my head." "What are you afraid of?" "I'm here, no one can touch you." Qianfeng was a little angry. He stretched out his hand and pushed, "Get out of my way. I must see Her Highness immediately." Voila! The moment the curtain of the tent was opened, Qianfeng saw that the Third Prince's bed was empty. He was stunned and said, "Her Highness. Where is Her Highness?" The guard trembled and hurriedly knelt on the ground, saying, "Marshal, please spare my life. Her Highness went out with her personal guards at dusk. She said that she had received news that the human Empress Qin Yin had left the camp. Her Highness the Third Prince had decided to assassinate the Empress Qin Yin in the Unicorn Forest. So they have already gone. Marshal, please spare my life. Her Highness asked me to do this." Qianfeng was so angry that his whole body trembled. "Nonsense, simply nonsense. Do you really think that there are no experts in the human race?" Chapter 363. Starlight shone brightly in the forest. This forest was called Unicorn Forest. Legend has it that there was once a holy unicorn that appeared in the forest. But at this moment, the Unicorn Forest had become the rear of the human empire's 7 major core. The moonlight shone on the forest floor, creating mottled shadows. On the official road, a convoy was slowly moving forward. The chariots were filled with barrels. Su Yu was wearing a female general's robe, riding her horse slowly at the edge of the convoy. Behind her were 2,000 cavalry guards. Including the people transporting the black beech oil, there were about 5,000 people. "Lord Commander." The general on the side unfolded the map, looked at it closely, and said, "We are only about 5 li away from Commander Yu's 4th Corps. We will arrive in half an hour." Su Yu smiled with satisfaction and said, "This time, Yu's victory in this battle is truly worthy of celebration. This battle is enough to prove that he is a rare talented general. I hope that this battle can intimidate the demon race and make them stop at Rice River and no longer advance westward." The general couldn't help but laugh. "I'm afraid this will be a bit difficult. It is said that there is a demon race army of 200,000 people on the east side of Rice River. We only killed 30,000 of their armor demons in this battle. With the main force remaining, it is impossible for these arrogant guys who call themselves the god race to retreat." "Maybe," Su Yu bit her lips, and said, "It's a pity that brother died early, otherwise, brother should be a general now, right?" The general was startled. "Is Commander Su Yu thinking about brother again?" Su Er nodded, and said, "Father also often misses brother." The general coughed, and said with a smile, "Ah you. As your uncle, there are some things that I have always wanted to tell you. Speak, fourth uncle. The general said, Duke Yun is already old, and it is impossible for him to have any children. Great General Su Qin also did not leave behind any descendants. The Su family's only hope is you. You are already 34 years old, why don't you find a son-in-law? As long as you give birth to a son, the Su family will have someone to inherit. Su Er froze, fourth uncle, I don't want to marry, you're already so old, and you still don't want to get married. I know you've been hurt by love before, but marriage is a big event in life. Fourth uncle, there's no need to say any more. My heart has already died with that person, and there's no room for anyone else. If you want Su Er to marry someone else, I'd rather die. Sigh. The brigadier general shook his head. You are too stubborn. Right at this moment, there was a sudden sound as a guard fell off his horse. He didn't even have the time to let out a miserable groan. With the help of the moonlight, one could see that his neck had been torn apart by an arrow. There's an enemy. Everyone, on guard. Su Yu immediately unsheathed her saber. Her face was full of anger as she said, Heavy cavalry, prepare to attack. Behind her, the Su family's heavy cavalry all raised the shields hanging on the sides of their warhorses, raised their spears, and charged forward with Su Yu. In the dense forest, arrows flew out one after another, and pu sounds rang out as the Su family's heavy cavalry were shot dead one by one. The ambushers in the depths of the forest had very accurate archery. They were actually able to pierce through the small gaps in the armors and kill the heavy cavalry. It was either their throats or their eyes. It was extremely terrifying. Raise your shields. Su Yu loudly ordered, but the enemy quickly began to aim at the warhorses' eyes. One by one, the heavy cavalry fell to the ground, and quickly abandoned their warhorses. They raised their spears and shields and charged forward. Under the moonlight, the assassins in the forest gave up on their bows and arrows. Dang dang dang, sounds of swords being unsheathed could be heard. One by one, they quickly rushed out of the forest. In the flashes of swords, one by one, the armored heavy cavalry were cut down. How is this possible? A resplendent martial spirit appeared on Su Yu's shoulder. She spurred her horse forward, and her saber slashed towards the back of an assassin. However, it was as if the assassin had eyes on his back. He leapt up and dodged the attack. His body was in midair, and his sword struck towards Su Yu's wrist like lightning. Pfft! Blood splattered, and Su Yu could no longer hold on to her saber. Her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at that person. She saw that he was wearing exquisite soft armor, and his eyes were bloodshot. His entire body was enveloped in black fighting chi, and the aura of an expert almost made it hard for Su Yu to breathe. Behind them, the heavy cavalry swept past, but the enemy seemed to have no fear. The handsome youth leading them raised the corner of his mouth and shouted, "Kill these annoying cavalry." Su Yu's heart trembled. What kind of person would be so insolent? A group of less than 500 swordsmen actually dared to say that they would kill 2,000 heavy cavalry? But at this moment, Su Yu believed that they could do it. The general behind her had already rushed over and shouted, "Commander Su Yu is injured. Cover her retreat. Commander Yu's camp is not far away, let's go." Behind them, the heavy cavalry fiercely collided with the enemy. Almost all of the attackers could control black fighting chi, and as a result, the Zither Dragon Army heavy cavalry screamed in pain. Su Yu's face was ashen, and her eyes were red. Holding her injured wrist, she spurred her horse forward and said, "Fourth uncle, who are these people?" "High-level demons." The general said angrily, "Let's go, the demons have already entered the unicorn forest. Someone, send a letter to Commander Yu asking for help." Behind them, the 2,000 heavy cavalry couldn't delay them for too long. The enemy's close to 200 people quickly caught up. Their running speed was shockingly fast, not much slower than Su Yu. In the 4th Army camp, Lin Muyu was standing outside the camp gate waiting for Qin Yin's arrival. At this moment, Qin Yin rushed over with a letter in his hand and shouted, "Big brother, bad news. Commander Su Yu has been blocked by a high-level demon on the official road less than 3 miles from here." High-level demon? Lin Muyu's heart turned cold, and she hurriedly got on her horse and said, "Ah Yen, immediately gather 5,000 heavy cavalry from the Longdan army camp to kill their way over. I will go over first to reinforce them. Big brother, you have to be careful. I will immediately send Wei Chou over as well." "Alright, you guys hurry up." Lin Muyu grabbed Treading Snow's reins. She didn't need to urge the war horse to rush over. Treading Snow had already merged with Lin Muyu's consciousness, so this kind of horsemanship was already at the peak. Treading Snow was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had already arrived at the official road. They could indeed see the flickering torches from afar, and they saw Su Yu and a general riding their horses over in a sorry state. Behind them, a large group of demons carrying longswords rushed over on their black battle energy cyclones, and they were filled with killing intent. Buzz! In the night sky, golden light flourished. Lin Muyu took out the golden gourd martial spirit and shouted, "Aunt Lien, this way, I will help you block them." "You!" Su Yu shouted and passed by, and said loudly, "Be careful, they are very powerful." Lin Muyu had already rushed over. She was afraid that the war horse would be injured, so she leaped up, and the pear blossom spear in her hand was surrounded by golden god-binding chains. She thrust it at the 2 demon swordsmen. Unexpectedly, these 2 demon swordsmen were extraordinarily confident. Their figures flashed, and they actually looked like they were going to dodge the pear blossom spear's attack. "Courting death!" Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. She shook her wrist lightly, and suddenly, there was a burst of brilliance. The spearhead of the pear blossom spear turned into a dense shower of attacks that poured out. It was the Hongchuan form, one of the 12 forms of the dragon taming spear technique. Pft, pft, 2 flowers of blood flew up. These 2 demon swordsmen were both injured. They took a few steps back in disbelief and looked at Lin Muyu. They couldn't believe that this brat in front of them could actually injure them. Lin Muyu's attack was successful. She raised the pear blossom spear and coldly looked at the group of high-level demons. The walls of the golden gourd slowly surrounded her. "Get out of the way." A cold voice rang out, and a high-ranking demon wearing soft armor walked out. He was extremely handsome, and he held a dazzling longsword in his hand. There was a fire snake beast soul coiled around the sword. It was a saint artifact. "Your Highness, be careful," the demon warrior at the side said in a low voice. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She tilted her head and looked at the demon youth in front of her, and said, "You're actually a highness? I didn't think that a dirty demon race would have a highness." "Impudent!" The youth shouted in a low voice, "I am the 3rd son of His Majesty the Demon Emperor, Feng Hai." "Brat, what's your name?" "Lin Muyu." "So you're that Lin Muyu that the marshal is so afraid of?" 3rd Prince Feng Hai smiled slightly, "Just nice. This time, I'll bring your head back. Let's see what the marshal has to say." As he said that, his killing intent surged. He waved his long sword and quickly attacked. Lin Muyu shook the pear blossom spear, and the spearhead pierced forward like a long dragon. Dragon taming spear technique's first form, seeking directions form. Dang! The 3rd prince's swordsmanship was very brilliant. He easily deflected the spearhead, and his body moved along the spear's shaft like a ghost. His long sword turned into a ray of light, and it was very shocking. It was too late for him to retract his spear. Lin Muyu gave a low grunt, and bolts of lightning flashed from her wrist into the spear. The spear shaft trembled heavily, and with a pang sound, the the third prince was forced to slide backwards. It was the dragon-taming spear technique's thunderclap stance. Good. Lin Muyu was secretly happy. With a flick of her wrist, the spearhead turned into 3 spiraling streams of energy, and went straight for the third prince's chest. The most overbearing strike of the dragon-taming spear technique's 12 forms, dragon-capturing form. The third prince roared, and the do-chi in his body revolved rapidly. His long sword pierced through the air. Bang! This guy's strength was very strong. He directly shattered the dragon-capturing form, and with his advantage in strength, he crushed Lin Muyu's exquisite technique. At the same time, he opened his hand and grabbed the pear blossom spear, trying to snatch it away. Lin Muyu let go of the pear blossom spear. She raised her hand and pulled out the dragon spirit sword. She slashed down, and 3 golden arcs appeared in the air. Dang, dang, dang. The third prince had no choice but to let go of the pear blossom spear. In the end, Lin Muyu turned sideways and kicked the pear blossom spear. The spearhead immediately pierced toward the third prince's chest. The group of demon warriors were stunned. Your Highness, be careful. Buzz. In the midst of the explosion of light, a ball of stardust energy surged in Lin Muyu's left palm, and it rapidly shot toward the third prince. B***starred. The third prince was furious. He clasped his fists together and attacked with all his might. Bang! So strong. One strike actually shattered the attack of the star incantation's third form. However, it also exhausted the third prince's strength. Lin Muyu passed by him. In the flash of the sword, the third prince's right arm was chopped off with a crack. Blood flowed all over the ground. Ah, 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 the third prince retreated a dozen steps and fell into the grass. His face was pale. He shouted, "Kill him. Let's go together and kill him." Lin Muyu held the long sword majestically. Behind her came the rumbling sound of horses' hooves. The 5,000 elite cavalrymen of the Longdan army camp had arrived. Chapter 364. Ding, 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 streaks of sparks splashed around the dragon spirit sword. Facing the encirclement of more than a dozen powerful demons, Lin Muyu only had the strength to parry. Even the walls of the calabash were riddled with holes. When she turned around, she saw Wei Chou and Qin Yan leading 5,000 heavy cavalries charging over. Wei Chou, who was at the forefront, had already drawn his longbow and shouted, "Commander, be careful." Lin Muyu saw it clearly. The falling star steps under her feet surged with light, and she left at lightning speed. Takshu let out a long neigh and rushed over. Lin Muyu flipped onto the horse and charged together with Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the rest. She ordered loudly, "That red-armored demon must be alive. Kill the rest." Swish, 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 the heavy cavalries of the Longdan army camp were adept at archery and horses. Before they got close, they had already shot a round of arrows. However, their opponents were no longer Iha country, but a group of top experts of the demon race. Many of these hundreds of people had already circulated their black demon chi. The black chi formed cyclones and blocked most of the arrows. However, Wei Chou's arm strength was too tyrannical. The white diamond arrow directly penetrated the head of a demon warrior, bringing out scorching brain matter. The third prince lost his right arm, but the expression on his face became increasingly sinister. Holding the long sword in his left hand, he shouted in a low voice, "Warriors of the celestial race, you are the pride of the celestial race. We will never die in the hands of this group of lowly humans. Charge with me and kill them all. We swear to follow your highness the third prince to the death." A group of high-level demons let out a soaring roar. Many of their eyes had already turned blood red. They were exactly the same as the person that Lin Muyu encountered at the Rice River. It could be assumed that the demon race had already tried to encroach on the human territory at that time. It was just that they lay dormant for 3 years before making their move. The iron hooves of the heavy cavalry trampled over with the force of a gust of wind and thunder. Lin Muyu switched to the pear blossom spear, and with a flick of her wrist, she unleashed the Hongchuan style. Golden god binding chains encircled the pear blossom spear, greatly increasing its lethality. 2 demons who attempted to use their black battle chi to resist were directly pierced by the pear blossom spear, turning into sieves. It was a tragic sight to behold. Wei Chou, Qin Yan, and the others pulled out their weapons and slashed wildly in the crowd, charging forward without stopping. However, these high-level demons were not like ordinary infantrymen who would sit and wait for death. They were actually attacking, killing the soldiers of the brave dragon battalion along with their warhorses. Each of them was filled with killing intent, and their imposing manner was very frightening. After a round of attacks, the high-level demons had lost close to 50 people, but the brave dragon camp had lost at least 100 people. Lin Muyu felt a chill in her heart when she saw this. She quickly turned her horse around and charged again, shouting, again. Ga! Ga! The third prince held onto the long sword with one arm and panted heavily. His face was pale. He finally knew how powerful this group of enemies in front of him was. This group of people were not as weak as the human armies in the Lingdong province and Tongtian province. On the contrary, they were very strong. Be it in terms of strength or willpower, they were far stronger than those people. Your Highness. A demon warrior with a bloody hole in his shoulder said with a trembling voice, this group of people is very powerful. I'm afraid we can no longer return to Demonic City alive, no. The third prince clenched his teeth and said, I brought you guys here, so I'll definitely bring you guys back. Yes. Your Highness. When he raised his head, the Longdan army camp's charge had swept over again. The third prince roared and raised his Do Chi to its peak state. However, the strength of his Do Chi was far from what it used to be. Before he could raise his long sword, he was pushed back by Lin Muyu's mountain stagger style. Suddenly, a golden light flashed around him, and gourd vines broke out from the ground and wrapped around the third prince's body, making him unable to move. At the same time, Lin Muyu, who was in front of him, rushed over in her silver armor. She stretched out one hand and grabbed the third prince's arm. She lifted him up onto the warhorse in front of her. She raised her fist and Do Chi swirled around her. Then, she punched the back of the third prince's head and knocked him out. Wei Chou and the rest quickly urged their horses and charged forward, attacking a group of stubborn high-level demon clan warriors once again. The result was almost the same, the demon clan lost tens of people, while the brave dragon camp lost over 100 people. Change to white drill arrows. Lin Muyu said loudly, surround them and shoot them with arrows. Yes. After changing their tactics, the Longdan army camp no longer attacked. Instead, a group of people slowly surrounded the demons with shields. Arrows flew in all directions, and the group of demons who only had swords and no shields became living targets. They could only wait to die. The arrows pierced into their bodies, and they were either killed or injured. After a while, there was no more resistance from the demons. In the center of the encirclement of the Longdan army camp, a group of high-level demons were lying on the ground. Their bodies were full of arrows. Occasionally, a few groans could be heard, but some of them were actually still alive. Commander, what should we do? Wei Chou asked. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, lock the living ones and bring them back to the camp. As for the dead, bring their bodies back to the camp. Yes. Qin Yan carried the fire serpent spear and arrived in front of a demon's corpse. He stared in shock as the blood energy on this demon's body continuously condensed and finally formed a blood-red bead. He said, "Big brother, what is this?" Lin Muyu had seen this before. After high-level demons died, they would perhaps gather their spirit energy together and form this thing. She said, "Bring it together. It should be a good thing and can help humans cultivate." Yes. At this time, Su Yu and her fourth uncle walked over. Su Yu's wrist was still dripping with blood. She smiled and said, "It's all thanks to you bringing people over. Otherwise, this place would be unimaginable. Is Aunt Lien's injury okay?" Lin Muyu took out a bottle of healing medicine and said, "This is a top-quality healing medicine. It won't leave a disability. Aunt Lien, use this." Thank you." Su Yu smiled gratefully. When she took the medicine, a trace of gloominess flashed across her face. She said, "Unfortunately, most of the soldiers that came with me have died in battle. These high-level demons are very powerful. They are different from the Iha country's army." Lin Muyu cupped her hands and said, "I will send people to collect the bodies of the Zither Dragon Army soldiers and bury them according to the Empire's martyrs' rites. Don't worry, Aunt Lien. There are still 4,000 barrels of black beech oil over there. Bring them back as well." Okay. In this battle, the Longdan army camp had lost over 300 people. Of the 500 demons, over 400 had died and 36 were seriously injured. Including the third prince, there were a total of 37. When Lin Muyu led the group back to the city under the moonlight, she saw Qin Yin coming over under Zhang Wei's protection. The moonlight shone on her delicate face and seemed to coat it with a layer of silver light. When Qin Yin saw Lin Muyu and Su Yu walking side by side, she immediately went up and said, "Brother Yu, Aunt Lien, are you all right? Who is it that is ambushing our army?" Lin Muyu threw the third prince to the ground and said, "It's these people." "Humans?" Qin Yin was stunned. "No, the demon race." "Shao Yin, you've seen the demon race's martial Qianfeng, right? They are almost no different from humans. If you don't open your eyes, you'll think they are humans." Wei Chou walked up and carried the unconscious third prince and said, "Darren, what should we do with these demons?" "Treat their wounds. Don't let them die. Lock them up and watch them carefully. They are useful." Lin Muyu said. Su Yu got off her horse and cupped her fists. "Subordinate Su Yu greets your highness." Qin Yin smiled and helped her up. "Aunt Lien, you don't have to be so polite." Aunt Lien, you're injured. Is it serious?" "It's just a superficial wound. I'm fine." Su Yu smiled and said, "Fortunately, Yu's Longdan army camp is very elite. Otherwise, we might not have been able to gain an advantage from these demons." Qin Yin nodded. "Oh right, brother Yu, you said these demons are useful. What is their use? Whether or not we can force the demons to retreat depends on these captives." Lin Muyu pointed at the unconscious third prince and said, "I heard these demons call this person your highness the third prince. He must be an important figure in the demon race. He is now an important trump card in our hands. Let's wait for the demon envoy to ask for peace." The fourth army's tent was brightly lit. The third prince's severed arm had already been stopped bleeding and was tied to a pillar with a thick iron chain. Wei Chou poured a bucket of cold water on him and he immediately woke up. A pair of purple eyes stared at Lin Muyu with incomparable hatred as he angrily said, "Lin Muyu, you bastard. Kill me. Father and brother will avenge me. Just wait to die. Do you really want to die?" Lin Muyu held the dragon spirit sword in a reverse grip and suddenly pulled it out. She placed the blade across the third prince's neck. The blade was sharp and cut into his skin, causing blood to flow. Under the pain, the third prince clenched his teeth and said, "What do you want?" "I want to ask you some questions. You must answer truthfully." "What if I don't answer?" The third prince sneered. Then I will kill you. Go interrogate your subordinates one by one. If one doesn't answer, then I will kill them. Lin Muyu's eyes were merciless as she smiled and said, "You are a prince of the demon race, so you should know how to sympathize with your subordinates. You don't want them to die for nothing, right? If this is the case, then you must answer all of my questions truthfully." The third prince had a fearless expression on his face, but his hands were trembling behind his back. Who in this world would not be afraid of death, let alone a member of the royal family like him who had lived like a prince? Ask away. Good. Lin Muyu nodded her head in satisfaction and sheathed her sword. She said, "How many troops does the demon race have in total? I'm afraid I'll scare you to death." The third prince's eyes trembled as he looked at Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Wei Chou, and Su Yu. "Isn't that perfect? If you scare us to death, then you can escape. Hurry up and tell us." Lin Muyu smiled. The third prince was so angry that he gnashed his teeth and said, "Listen up. The demon race army is divided into two super armies. The first army is led by Marshal Qianfeng and has a total of 150,000 armor demons, 30,000 winged people, and 10,000 high-level god race warriors. The second army is led by Marshal Lei Chong and has a total of 200,000 armor demons and 50,000 winged people. How about it? Are you scared now?" Chapter 365. Lin Muyu frowned as she became a bit scared. According to the third prince, there were 400,000 armor demons in the demon tribe. In the past 2 days, nearly 30,000 armor demons had been killed. She thought that the demon tribe had suffered a great loss. However, it seemed that 30,000 armor demons were just like a drizzle in front of 400,000 armor demons. "Behave." Zhang Wei kicked the third prince's crotch and said, "If you're so arrogant again, I'll make you a eunuch." "Oh," the third prince sucked in a breath of cold air. It seemed that it was a vital point of the high-level demon race. Zhang Wei didn't know how to control his strength. This time, it must be painful. Lin Muyu returned to sit beside Qin Yin and continued to ask, "Your Highness, the second question is, what's up with the high-level demons that you speak of? I see that you and the others are all wearing a dark golden emblem on your sleeves. Some have 1 star, some have more. What does this mean? Please tell me." The third prince didn't want to say it at first, but seeing that Zhang Wei was drawing circles on the ground, he knew that if he didn't say it, he would have to suffer another kick. So he frowned and said, "The high-level demon race is a race that can't be blasphemed. They are the bloodline of the gods passed down from ancient times. Later, they converged into today's imperial family. As for the badge you see, it's just a classification." "What classification?" "Humph." The third prince sneered and said, "The high-level divine race cultivates the power of the star sect. We worship the star sect, therefore, we use the star sect as a classification. The high-level divine race is divided into 1-star demon ancestor, 2-star demon ancestor, 3-star demon ancestor, 4-star demon ancestor, and 5-star demon ancestor. The 1-star demon ancestor is the lowest level warrior, the 2-star demon ancestor is the warrior that has comprehended the devil Do Qi, and the 3-star demon ancestor is the warrior that has comprehended the blood eye domain, the 4-star demon ancestor is the expert that has comprehended the blood fiend aura, and the 5-star demon ancestor is the supreme existence of the divine race." Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "Wei Chou." Wei Chou understood, and with a crash, he poured a pile of things in the black bag onto the table. They were all the insignia of the high-level demon race's star sect. He flipped through them for a while, and said, "Commander, there are 7 people in this group who are from the 3-star demon sect, 200 people from the 2-star demon sect, and the rest are from the 1-star demon sect." "I see." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and said, "Your Highness, did you only bring this many people with you this time? You didn't even bring a 4-star demon sect disciple with you." Do you think you can destroy an entire legion with just the few of you? I'm not here to attack your army. The third prince glared. Then why are you doing this? Lin Muyu asked. The third prince was stunned. After thinking for a moment, he looked at Qin Yin without saying anything. Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. Your target is Xiao Yin? That's right. The third prince said, as long as we capture the empress of the human race, this war will be over. It's a pity that we failed on the verge of success. How did you get the news that the empress would come to Maple Forest Ferry? Lin Muyu stared at the third prince's eyes and asked. We naturally have a source of information. Tell me the specifics. Who told you? I don't know. I only know that our people bribed some of your people and obtained some reliable information. That's all I know. As for who it was, I really don't know. Lin Muyu turned to look at Qin Yin, and the two of them looked at each other. They could see the astonishment in each other's eyes. There was actually a spy from the demon race in the Empire's army. Who could it be? No one knew. There was no longer any reliable information from the third prince. He was just a frivolous high-ranking demon. He thought that with just 500 high-ranking demons, he could run amok in the human race's territory. In the end, he suffered a setback. To Qianfeng, Lei Chong, and the other demon commanders, this third prince was a useless teammate. However, to Lin Muyu, the third prince's honesty and bravery was especially cute. All right. Lin Muyu clapped her hands and said, someone, escort the third prince away. Treat him with good food and drinks. Guard him well. Don't let anything go wrong. Wei Chou cupped his hands and smiled, don't worry, I will personally guard him. That's good. Go. Yes. Wei Chou led the third prince away. However, the third prince didn't forget to turn his head to look at Lin Muyu and said, I eat cloud deer shank every meal. You must prepare some for this prince. Otherwise, I won't say anything else. Qin Yin looked at the third prince's back in disgust and said, Brother Yu, what do we do now? I don't know either. Let's wait. When Qianfeng receives the news, he will naturally come find us to ask for people. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Yen. Yes, what orders does Big Brother have? Send people to the unicorn forest to cut down trees and make some wooden barrels. Secretly fill them with water and place them on the shore. We must let the demons on the west bank see it and do it in secret. Qin Yen was stunned. Big Brother, using wooden barrels to fill water, is there any use? There's no other way. Lin Muyu said, our black beech oil has been used up. We can't let the demons know that we can't use fire anymore. Otherwise, they will immediately attack. I can't imagine what kind of scene it will be after 400,000 demons cross the river. So we can only hide it and delay for as long as we can. So it's like this, I understand. Qin Yen cupped his fists, I'll do it immediately. At the side, Su'er pursed her lips and smiled, Yu is really smart. Even if he can't trick the demons, he can still make them feel some fear. That's right. Lin Muyu thought for a few seconds and said, Xiao Yin, how is the war over at the Iha country? According to what I know, the Iha country should have already started a war with the demons, right? Qin Yin nodded and her starry eyes looked at Lin Muyu. She said with a smile, according to the letter our scout sent back, the Iha country's 7th commander Long Qianlin has led nearly 200,000 troops to defend the Qinling Mountains. He has already fought against the demons for a long time. Moreover, the commander who led the demon army to attack the Qinling Mountains seems to be that Lei Chong you mentioned. Lei Chong ah. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, I hope Long Qianlin can defend. Otherwise, the Iha country will soon be destroyed and we will fall into a situation where we can't support ourselves. Qin Yin was startled and said, Brother you're saying, we have the possibility of allying with the Iha country? It's not impossible. Unexpectedly, Suyu said firmly, you never have the idea of forming an alliance with the Iha kingdom. Have you forgotten the blood debt of the Battle of Lanyan City? Chu Huayin, Qin Yen, Luo Lai, so many loyal and brave generals of the empire died under the iron hooves of the Iha country. We can never forget this kind of humiliation. I know, Aunt Su. Lin Muyu moved her lips and said, I'm only saying that we can do this as a last resort. Qin Yin smiled at the side and held Lin Muyu's hand, saying, I have something else to tell you. What is it? Commander Xiangyu has suggested using poison again. Lin Muyu frowned and said, Are we going to pour the blood fruits poison into the river? Yes, Xiangyu believes that the demon army of hundreds of thousands is stationed at the edge of the river and that there's a water source far to the west. That's why they can only draw water from the river to live. Once the water is poisoned, the demons will naturally retreat without attacking. Will the blood fruits poison be effective against the armor demons? Lin Muyu frowned and said, Unless we catch an armor demon and pour the blood fruits poison into it. If the demon is poisoned to death, then we can use this plan. Otherwise, don't use it. The river won't be able to withstand this kind of torment. I'll tell Xiangyu what you mean. However, it's not easy to catch a living armor demon. I'm afraid we'll need some time. Don't worry, Qianfeng will come to our camp soon. Alright, then I'll wait here. The northern side of the Qinling Mountains was covered in mottled snow while the southern side was a fertile forest. Banners were fluttering above the Qinling Mountains with the emblem of the Iha kingdom gently swaying in the wind. Long Qianlin, clad in commander's armor, was guarding the mountain with a spear in his hand. He gazed into the distance and said with a frown, Deputy General Lu, the demon camp seems to have moved. Deputy General Lu cupped his fists and said, Yes, they've retreated about 5 kilometers, but they haven't gone far. This general believes that their next attack will be even fiercer. In addition, Commander, we don't have enough arrows and more soldiers are getting injured. I'm afraid we won't be able to withstand a few more attacks from the armor demons. Yes. Long Qianlin sighed with sorrow in his eyes, we didn't even receive 10,000 armor demon corpses and lost 70,000 men. If it wasn't for the Qinling Mountains as a natural stronghold, I'm afraid we would have been breached by the demons a long time ago. Deputy General Lu said, Commander has done his best, there's no need to blame yourself. How's the situation over at the Empire? Our people sent over a letter not long ago. Deputy General Lu said respectfully, the Empire's 300,000 troops are defending along the Daojiang River against the First Demon Legion. They used the fire attack that Lin Muyu suggested. In the battle last night, they killed more than 30,000 armor demons and thousands of winged people, but they lost nearly 100,000 men. But the power of this battle has made the First Demon Legion not dare to make any more moves. Long Qianlin's face revealed a touch of relief, with Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing around, I'm afraid it won't be easy for the demons to conquer the Empire's territory. Fortunately, the Empire reduced the defensive pressure by half for us. Otherwise, I'm afraid we won't be able to defend the Qinling Mountains. Deputy General Lu said, Commander. Commander's secret order has long said that if there's a chance, we can make a small move to make the Empire's army collapse on its own. What? Long Qianlin was startled, Commander wants to let the demons occupy Lanyan City? Yes. Deputy General Lu's eyes were stern, after all, the demons' hatred for our Iha country is far less than the Empire's hatred for us. Long Qianlin. Chapter 366. Bang! A heavy palm smashed the table into pieces. Qianfeng suddenly stood up and asked with killing intent in his eyes, This is infuriating. His Highness the Third Prince has been captured by Lin Muyu? Yes, a winged person said while trembling with fear. This subordinate saw His Highness and a group of God race guards being taken into Lin Muyu's city. His Highness has indeed been captured, hateful. Qianfeng gritted his teeth and said, "Is there any news from the humans? Did they say how much Shindu coins they want? Or is it to sue for peace or something?" "Not yet." A high-ranking demon wearing a commander's insignia cupped his fist and said, "Marshal, let's attack. The humans don't have that much black beach oil. As long as we attack again, they will definitely be routed. We still have 100,000 armor demons in our hands." "No." Qianfeng's eyes were cold as he said, "If a problem can be solved with one finger, then don't use 5 fingers. Although the armor demons are strong, they don't know how to fight in the water. It's not easy for Shindu to train these armor demons. I don't want them to die in vain." "Then Marshal, what do you mean?" Qianfeng squinted his handsome eyes and said, "They have captured our third prince. We will capture important people who are easy to capture. Think of a way to lure Tang Lu and Tang Tian out of the city and find a chance to capture them." "Yes." The demon general faintly smiled. "Tang Lu and Tang Tian have nothing to do all day. After the defeat, they only thought of dispatching troops from Cangnan province. Apart from this, they hunt in the unicorn forest to seek pleasure. It is said that the two brothers are still looking for beautiful women in the nearby villages. Leave this matter to this general to handle." "No, I will go with you." "Be quick. Let's go now." "Yes." South of the 7th Army, in the middle of a fertile forest, many villages and towns under the jurisdiction of Cangnan province were scattered in the depths of the forest. Some were extremely prosperous, and even had a population of tens of thousands. On a small road in the countryside, a group of carriages slowly moved forward. A group of 7 Seas city cavalry escorted 2 people wearing commander's armor. They were precisely the 2 brothers, Tang Lu and Tang Tian. Tang Lu's arm was wrapped in gauze, and some blood was seeping out. He grabbed the reins and looked at the wound. He frowned and said, "Those damned devils, they almost chopped off one of my arms. Humph, they deserve to be burned to death." Tang Tian said, "Second brother, we lost close to 10,000 men this time. I wonder if Her Highness Yin will punish us." The corners of Tang Lu's mouth curled up, and he said with a smile, "Don't worry, our 7 Seas city has a strong army and a large population. Moreover, our businesses are extremely flourishing, and Her Highness Yin is still relying on our 7 Seas city. So long as grandfather is alive, Her Highness Yin won't do anything to us. Don't forget that the 3rd Legion's commander, General Xiangyu, is also one of us." "That's true." Tang Tian smiled slightly, looked at the carriage behind him, and said, "This time, I only spent less than 300 Jianghu coins to buy an absolute beauty. To think that there would be such a beauty in this wilderness, it's truly unexpected." Tang Lu said, "Grandfather said that cultivators must not be obsessed with women. Third brother, I think you should restrain yourself a little. Didn't second brother also buy a woman to serve in the camp? I only bought one, unlike you, who bought 5 in one go. Can you even use them all? Ha ha ha, I only enjoy this feeling of having them." "Right, I heard that the high-level devils also have women, and they call themselves the God race. Moreover, each and every one of their figures are first class. If there's a day that we can defeat the devils, we can also snatch a few devil women back to play with. What do you think, second brother?" Tang Lu's gaze was frivolous. "Ha, you brat, you only know how to enjoy yourself. Wait until we annihilate the devils, then we'll talk about it. What do you want to play with?" Right at this moment, a cold arrow suddenly shot over from afar. Pooh! The leading Chiliarch fell from his horse in response, his throat already pierced. Tang Lu's gaze turned cold as he shouted in a low voice, who dares sneak attack our Tang clan's convoy? There was no response from the people in the forest, only cold arrows shot out, and the cavalry in the front fell from their horses one by one. In the blink of an eye, there were close to 100 casualties. Bastard! Tang Lu's gaze turned cold, and the battle chi around his body exploded. He leaped from the back of his horse and flew over. Raising his palm, golden starlight gathered in his palm as he shouted, "Get out here for me!" Star Sacrificial Seal. Bang! The star sacrificial seal heavily smashed into the shrubbery, tearing all the plants into powder. However, just as the dust filled the sky, a person rushed over like lightning, and a sharp sword swept across. Dang! Tang Lu's sword had already been unsheathed, but he was forced to retreat several steps by this attack. Blood spurted out from his mouth. He had actually suffered internal injuries in just one exchange. The battle chi in his body was surging chaotically, and he couldn't even use the second star sacrificial seal. The attacker was a handsome demon commander. He wore 5 golden stars on his collar. The corner of his mouth curled up as he said with a smile, "Tang Sect's Fire Fox seal is only so. Bastard!" Tang Lu shouted, and his longsword swiftly slashed out as he asked, "Who are you?" "The God Race's First Legion's Marshal, Qianfeng." Qianfeng only smiled faintly. He suddenly opened his left hand, and a blood-colored chi wave surged out, forcibly suppressing Tang Lu's longsword. It was the demonic blood breath. This aura was so powerful that Tang Lu couldn't resist it at all. His body was flipped along with the blade of the sword, and it was as if he was being played in the palm of Tang Lu's hand. Break! Qianfeng lightly shook his palm, and the power of the demonic blood breath surged out, instantly knocking Tang Lu unconscious. He didn't say anything else, and he rushed toward Tang Tian, who was in the middle of the cavalry. Tang Tian's cultivation was lower than Tang Lu's, and he was so frightened that his face turned aghast as he shouted, "Protect me!" Dozens of Tang Sect's cavalry rushed forward, but how could they be a match for Qianfeng? Buzz! An invisible domain pressure descended on the surroundings, and it immediately caused the cavalry who were charging forward to freeze. Qianfeng flew over and grabbed Tang Tian, who was on the warhorse. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you. You're still useful." Just when Qianfeng grabbed Tang Tian and retreated, a dark energy suddenly surged out from behind, and dozens of cavalry's bodies exploded into a pile of blood. Master Devil Force, this was a power that humans couldn't understand. "It's over." A centurion's face was pale, and he said, "Quick! Report to General Feng that Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi have been captured by the Devil Race. Quickly return." On the other side of the forest, winged people appeared on the branches, and they were holding ropes in their hands. 4 winged people dragged Tang Lu's body and flew into the sky. Following that, more and more winged people appeared, and they brought Qianfeng and the other high-level devils along as they flew toward the west bank. The news quickly spread to the other major legions, and Feng Jixing and Xianghu rushed to the 4th Legion to meet with Qin Yin. At the same time, in the evening, a cavalry team rushed over from Cangnan province. It was Tang Lan's cavalry team, and Duke Lan, one of the 2 dukes of the empire, finally came to the front lines. "Greetings, Duke Lan." Lin Muyu and Xiangyu stood at the side, and they respectfully greeted Tang Lan, who had just entered the tent. On the commander's seat, Qin Yin, who was wearing an empress's robe, sat there. She faintly looked at Tang Lan entering the tent, and she said, "Duke Lan, you also came?" Tang Lan's face was pale, and he cupped his fists and said, "This old official Sin is not good at disciplining and allowing Tang Lu and Tang Tian, these 2 good-for-nothing brats, to be captured by the Devil Race. It's this old official's fault." After saying that, Tang Lan trembled and knelt down. Qin Yin stood up and said, "Duke Lan doesn't need to blame yourself. This matter has nothing to do with you. It's just that Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi left the camp without permission, and the Devil Race seized the opportunity." Tang Lan stood up and said with a face full of guilt, "Your Highness. Tang Lu and Tang Tian are the last two male descendants of the Tang family. If something bad happens to them after they went to the devil race's camp, I'm afraid that the Tang family's bloodline will end." Feng Jixing frowned and said, "Duke Lan, do you know that Commander you captured the devil race's third prince, Feng Hai, a few days ago? Originally, we could have relied on this devil race's third prince to force the devil race's army to retreat, but today, the devil race's marshal, Qian Feng, has already sent someone to deliver a letter, requesting us to use the devil race's third prince to exchange for Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi. I'm afraid that this deal will ruin our good situation." This, Tang Lan looked up to the sky and sighed, "If this is really the case, for the sake of the Empire's fate, this old official earnestly requests your Highness not to agree to the devil race's conditions, and let them retreat. As for Tang Lu and Tang Tian, let them resign themselves to fate." Duke Lan. Qin Yin smiled and said, "How can we let Duke Lan die without descendants? Don't worry, I've already agreed to Qian Feng's conditions. Tomorrow at noon, we'll exchange for the two marquises on this river." Tang Lan was stunned. "What do you mean?" Xiang Yu cupped his fists and said, "Duke Lan, His Highness has already spoken with Qian Feng's envoy. Tomorrow at noon, we'll each send a warship to exchange people at the center of the river. Both sides can only send 3 people to escort the prisoners, no more." Xiang Yu took a deep breath and said, "His Highness has decided to let this general, Feng Jixing, and Lin Muyu escort the devil race's third prince together, and seize the opportunity, to kill Qian Feng." Tang Lan muttered to himself, "I'm afraid that Qian Feng isn't an idiot and won't be tricked so easily, right? That's our advantage." Feng Jixing said with a smile, "Our warships can send over 100 people, so there's no need to talk about trust with the devil race. If we can kill Qian Feng this time, the demon army will definitely retreat. We have no other choice but to go all out." Tang Lan said, "Then, we'll have to trouble General Feng and Commander Yu." Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu cupped their fists at the same time, but their hearts were filled with apprehension. After all, no one had truly experienced Qian Feng's strength. But just as Feng Jixing said, they could only do their best. Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu, and Xiang Yu were publicly acknowledged as the top figures in the Imperial Army in terms of cultivation. If even these 3 couldn't kill Qian Feng, then it could only mean that the demon race's luck hadn't run out yet. You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.